Mm-hmm. We're back again. Back again with another one. Oh, where's my document? Yeah, back again. Yo, big up everyone that's coming through right about now. You know what time it is? It's real political, mate. Yeah, I'm telling you, so read everything that you see on the actual backboard right there. Yeah, so again, if you're not a part of that 95, let me know. Give us some history. Give us the origin. Something. Give us something right now, yeah? If you're not a part of that, what's this? No. If you're not a part of that, what's this? Cool, man. Yeah. If you're not a part of that, if you're not a part of that 95%, come up, man. Come up and tell me. Let's share. Interesting. Yeah, what's this? Yeah, so I'm saying if you're not part of that 95, let me know. Yeah, man, it's a real issue. It's real issues going on around this. It has been used, man. This word. It has been used. Look how so much genocide, my people. Listen up, man. Alright, appreciate it, Anthony. Andrew. Andre, that's it. Name was ringing. Appreciate the like. Remember, man, like I said, we're changing humanity with every strong step, every strong conversation, goes a long way. Right now, we are again strengthening humanity. We need to remove all this plague, all this fake, this fraud, all this lie, all this deceptive ideas that we have been given to weaken down ourselves. Listen up, John. Appreciate the follow. All right. Yes, listen up, man. Come on. Like I say, if you identify yourself as white, let's go. Like, this is time to be strong, and I'm here to help. I'm here to definitely help. The title might seem strong for you, but hold in there, hold tight. You're gonna get, when it comes to this club, you get stronger. You don't get weaker, you get stronger. You'll leave TikTok with a more strong mind. Yo, so remember, stay off the, you stay off the weakness, man. Get strong. Get some strong knowledge, strong education about yourself. You understand? And then you can even say anything. But like I say, this is a very important topic. You get me? And this topic is so important because, again, those that identify themselves as white has been given, again, a lie, a 400 years lie. Think about this. It's deep because I actually know the history, and I could judge based on those that identify themselves white, but they don't know, and you can see how ignorant society have made those that identify themselves white. Like the ignorancy of not wanting to know where you come from. Oh, it's a shame, man. It's the bottom weak. Like the weakness of it is, it's like needs to be eradicated by strong knowledge, strong wisdom, strong understanding, strong love, strong patience. Yeah, because like that's a mental illness. That's a mental illness if you don't know where you come from. It is. It's a disorder. It's damaging to the human race. It's damaging to the humanity. It is. It is and like I say, in psychology, the less information that you know about yourself, the less development you have, the easier you to be able to be controlled. That's why, again, the ones that identify themselves as white but don't know nothing about themselves, again, they were used for so much cruelty. And the one that did, they just let it happen, But this is a psychological thing. This is damaging. Imagine that. Again, those that identify themselves as white has been leading humanity, for 400 years. But like I say, about 95% of negativity, I'm putting that 95 up there as well, of negative impact on humanity. 95, even probably about 99. Exactly, that's the whole point, that's mental illness. Don't care. That's a mental illness because, like I say, it's just it's weakness, like a weak people, they don't care, that's for weak people, like stick their head in the sand, they're getting fed, so they don't really mind. They don't really know their time, like when it's gonna happen to them, so they're all right. They just, what I'm saying, just going about their business, thinking that and this is the issue, like when you don't have when you lack strong knowledge, strong wisdom, like of your environment, your surrounding, how is it set up, how it's set up, you could be a risk to the public. You could be a risk to your surrounding because you don't know nothing about it. The physics within the physics within the biology of all human being is that when you do something, it will occur again. It's like quantum physics. It will happen somewhere. So all of that cruelty, it doesn't just go away. It's in the environment. It's in the biology. It's of the earth. So it's gonna happen. So like, for instance, it's like karma. They say it's a physics. It really happens. It does circulate. So the whole point is to be able to reduce the damage because it's coming. We all could tell, like, and like there's so many people still pretending, and it's obviously because the psychology is a very powerful thing. Like it's like a state of mind. When you're in a condition, it's hard for you to wake up. That's why, again, I need my strong brothers and sisters that may not identify themselves as white, but they're in that white environment that force them to identify themselves as white. Because as I said, I had not enough strong people coming through the live, I'm saying, and giving their accounts. But I realized, like I say, the psychological defect that has had an impact on majority of those that identify themselves as white. It's like it's very severe. It's not light. It's a severity. The severity is very high, and because the severity is very high, you have to bring it down. You understand? Because like ignorance, again, just being deluded, and I'm saying not knowing where you come from. That's first. Not having social development, but like living in the society that has been created presently. It's terrible, and we need to shift that. You know what I'm trying to say? So, majority that do identify themselves as white, you need to realize, no, that is. So it says, who's that? Mag, yeah. That should be a standard. But it's like I say, some people are developed more than others, but it's a majority of weak minded people, and I use weak, I'm trying to be plain and simple, like clear. And there's strong and there's weak, straight and simple. So obviously being straight and simple, that earth is about performance, and based on how you perform, you could help others or you could make them worse. So because that the majority have weak performance because they have weak development within themselves, is that it takes strong ones to make them perform better or make them better. And this is an important thing. So again, for those that identify themselves as white, I want you to know this, that identity has only been in existence for 400 years. So imagine that, 400 years. This is the type of the lack of knowledge, the weak performance. You have given up. Imagine that you have given up. How long has the earth has been in existence? Billion years, and they're still finding out. So you're giving up your lineage or your bloodline, millions of years of information, of detail, of development for only 400 years. How backwards are you? Like, think about, just do the maths. If the earth require longevity to know how to balance, to know how to take care, because if you're saying you're leading humanity, that's a big task. Like, it's like, it's not a willy-nilly. You have to be firm, you have to be in order. And like I say, this when your psychology is not up to the level of being a human, you're out of order. You understand? When your psychology is not up to the level of being a human, just a basic human, that means you're out of order, like literally. And that's why, again, majority of those that identify as white don't like order, like, don't know what comes first when it's obvious, like every person that you identify as white should know that they have a black heritage. I'm trying to say, every person that identifies as white should know that they have a black heritage. How could the Chinese find out that they have a black that they have heritage coming out of Africa? It's like everything just coming out, like, and like I say, we know your children growing up, your children coming, and you're having children, and children, they don't respect like weak parents. Have you seen it? If you see, children don't respect weak parents. And look, you see when you isolate yourself, you make yourself hostile to environments that you have rights to be in, but you feel segregated. Like, if you didn't know where you're coming from, your lineage, you'll be able to go in that environment without feeling like outcast or feeling, isolated. And this is a benefit. When you do know who you are, where you come from, you have more ability, you have more connection to people. I think it's a standard psychological development. So, like I say, the disease that has been plaguing, again, those that identify as white, without them even knowing. Like I say, sometimes you could be happy doing wicked things, not because you don't have the knowledge of how humanity even works. Like, when you are deprived so much, you could be happy doing bad things. This is reality. So it's like being happy telling a lie, and that means they're deprived. They don't know. You don't know. You haven't got a development. So these are the type of things where, that needs to be changed, because humanity is going in a way where majority of people is gonna be so weak that they're just gonna be subjugated to cruelty. You know what I'm saying? Majority of people gonna be so weak. Come in. Who's this? Okay. All right. Literally, Batman. Go on. Another one. Oh no, someone asked a question. Oh, Absol. Hey, listen. Zero tolerance for weakness. Yeah, I got zero tolerance. So let me see what you have to say.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you believe that I regard myself as white. So that's a bad thing that I know that I'm white.
Um. So how do? All right. It's a question. So this is a good. So
Oh, okay.
all right.
That's
So
why I
how?
just asked you a question of where's my origin of me being white bad?
Yeah. So I'm asking you, where does it come from? Where's the origin coming from? Tell me.
I've got no idea. That's why I'm asking you. You're the one who made the claim.
Oh yeah. But you do know. I give you a question. But you do know your bloodline though. You do know like.
Yes, I can date it back to the 1300s.
All right. That's good. That's different from identifying the identity. Yeah. That's different. You know your blood. You know your family. You know your bloodline. That's different. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. But you don't know like the identification to say like you're white. You know. You don't know the origin of it. You're
Yes,
saying.
I do. Actually, I do.
Oh,
Apart from the three separate aunties, well, I say aunties and uncles, you're talking about like 300 years back, those are the great grannies and whatnot. They actually moved over to America, and my bloodline has always been white people.
okay. So what's the origin of it? So how did it come about?
The origin of it was
From your
Scotland.
perspective,
It
from
was
your
Scotland.
knowledge, from your knowledge.
From my knowledge, and also a
Yeah.
historical fact that you can
Uh,
look up, I'm not going to give you my name because that would be irrelevant.
no
Well,
problem.
for me to give you
Just
that.
just give the evidence and the facts.
Sure, you
Because
can
we're
come to
helping out.
Scotland, you can read the Book of History, which is very much available. Also, you can see it online, so it wouldn't be a problem. That actually proves of the historical fact of my name, my Scottish name that I have, my
Yep.
surname, that through all the clans that I have been white.
Oh, your surname. So you're saying your surname?
Yes, the people that
Oh,
have
okay. No, no.
created me.
I get. All right. Cool. That's no. I would agree. If you have a surname, which your surname is white, that's your
Yes,
surname. No, I'm
we
I'm
also had
good.
a castle.
No, I'm not talking about the surname. So I understand it. I
Oh.
want the identity. So to say not okay. This person, his surname is white. Not that part. The part where you identify as white. To say I am. You, it's like so. Not
What do you
everyone has
mean
their
I
surname.
identify as white?
Yeah, but so not everyone has your surname. So not everyone's gonna be like, what's your name? What's your surname? You're gonna say white. No, I'm saying to identify as white. Where does it as saying you're a white race? Where does it come from?
The entire history of my lineage.
I'm not talking about your surname. You understand, yeah?
No, that's literally it. Every other person from my lineage has been a white person. And well, if you really want to try, just before you attempt this, do you know how the whole when the British tried to stop slavery from Africa because
Yeah.
Africans were selling their own people? It has been put on record, believe it or not, that my people of my name, actually stopped that happening. So I'm just wondering.
No, you keep going, keep going. So
No,
it's when
I'm just wondering if you're no, if you're going to try and attempt to say because I'm white, I'm racist because that's
no,
usually
no,
where that
no, no,
terminology
no.
goes.
No, that's not the point. So I gonna say it's where the identity of white originated. So you're saying it originated with your surname. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, actually, have you ever heard of a thing called Hadrian's Wall?
Adrian's Wall. Yes, yes.
The mine goes about 4 to 350 years before that,
Okay.
roughly. It gets a bit vague.
So you're saying everyone comes from you. That what you said.
That I've come from, yes.
So everyone comes from you. That I'd say that they identify as white.
That I have come from, not that comes from me, that I've come from. That's past tense, you're talking about present.
Yeah. So everyone that even the ones that are in Germany, um, where from the other side, Slavic, they're saying
Wait, you're
they're
talking about the ones that tried to invade Scotland and lost. And, well, there was an attempt from the English. I'm assuming you've seen the movie Braveheart. That was very, very overemphasized.
so all right. I'm getting what you're saying. So so
Demon
what?
Nocta was a thing. That was my clan was untouched because that, believe it or not, during that actual some of the battles, not all of the battles, but they were actually involved in that. There was a part, I don't know if it's entirely true, but I'd like to believe it was true. Was actually involved in one of the last battles of Robert the Bruce.
Mm, you're very intelligent. All right. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Because you're saying
No,
something.
no, I'm not intelligent. I'm just
No, you're saying
knowledgeable.
something good. Because you know about if you know about your history, if you know about
Yeah,
yourself, of course you have to
yep,
be intelligent. That is
yep.
it's a natural thing to be. If you know about yourself, I'm not talking about as in if
As I
you know
said
about.
before, I'm not
Yeah.
intelligent. I'm just knowledgeable, and I actually had the factual information. Because if I was to tell you my name, you could look it up. But I'm not going to do that
No,
because
no,
I'm
no.
not
You
going
don't
to
have
put it
to.
out on social media for people to do that and
No,
very
you don't
figure
have
out
to.
where I am. Because my name is actually very limited now.
You don't have
So
to.
it'd be very fair to find out who I was, and that wouldn't be fair to me. But I can tell you this much: I have a I have a castle. It is in ruins, and it's named after my family.
That's no. I appreciate you coming up and sharing this. Yeah. So
Yeah, absolutely.
no, again. So remember. So where you at?
But don't think of being hostile.
No, no,
As
no.
you know,
Of
I'm
course not. Of
Scottish.
course
We
not.
just sound that way.
So Ab, yes, I say Ab, yeah. So
That's good.
again, Abska, yeah.
Uh, abs, put it in two parts. Abs and then the word Q. Abs
Absque,
Q.
Absque.
It,
Okay,
it works better off the turn. It's Latin, which I
good,
learned
good,
from my
good.
grandfather.
All right, that's good. So all right. So your knowledge that you're sharing. Maybe
Yes.
everyone hear this that again that the word white, yeah, to
Yep.
identify as
Yep.
a race is coming
Yep.
from Absque,
Yep. It was
fam.
completely
Yeah.
correct because once the English brought over slaves and tried to offer them to the Scottish as a peace treaty, they were called black because we didn't know any differentiation of any different colour.
All right.
Because
Let me see
why
if you
couldn't
know
you
this.
see, if you were to see a black person in the middle of the night?
Let me see if you know this. Give me a second. And like I say, you made made good claim based on your knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So have you heard about Thomas Middleton?
I know of the name, but
Okay, so
it's not ringing the bell at the moment.
So Thomas Middleton is a Jacobin. Yeah, this is a Jacobin. He's a playwright. He's from Middleton, like the name from where Middleton is in England.
Yeah.
So he's a playwright, and he was the first one. You could look it up, and if you're saying this is going against your family, then I think it's something that you have to investigate more. So I'm giving you a pointer. Yeah.
Okay.
So he invented the concept of white people in 1613.
Right.
Yeah. So in 1613 there were crusades
Yep.
still
There
going
actually
on.
was.
Yeah. You have the Ottoman Empire and many of those that in Europe
Yeah.
they were Christians, right? But not all of
Absolutely.
them, not everyone. And that's why it's great you coming on because, like I say, you give a different aesthetic to everything. So again, 1613, there was a king because this thing the crusade was going on, and Europe was about to be extinct based on the majority of Ottoman
No,
soldiers.
I know, I do agree with you. I completely agree that all of that's true.
So I'm
I
sharing
do
so
ask
you
you a
could understand
question.
because you made a good point. I want you to at least it connects to you more, right? It will
No, it doesn't.
you will
In
understand
fact,
what I'm
it's
saying.
actually irrelevant because the Scots had nothing to do with that.
No, I understand, but listen, you would understand what I'm saying after this.
But
So
I know, I get that. I get
so
what you're
check this.
saying.
So the so when that was happening, Europe was about to be extinct exterminated. There was a lot of cruelty happening,
Yes.
and the fact that majority of people in Europe, they all look the same. So they were either very pale, leprous, or albino. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but not everyone was Christian. That's the thing. Um,
Well,
and
sorry, if you were to go back to the 1600s and ask a Scot what Christian was,
he didn't know.
we've got no idea.
All right. Exactly. But this is the whole point. All right.
But then you ask, if you were to, for example, may I ask, are you black?
Yeah, I'm mixed. Yeah, I'm black. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. See, if you were to come over in the 1600s, me
Yeah.
as a Scot in the 1600s, we wouldn't have a clue what or who you are because we'd never met somebody like you before.
No. Just let me go. I'm gonna correct you. Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole point, like I say, the fact that crusade was going on, religious wars was going on, and majority of people in Europe were
Yep.
Christians, but not everyone was. But everyone
Yep.
appears the same, look the same, as in appearance,
Yep.
right? The word, the word white did not. If you look in the dictionary, it did not come up at that time. But if there was a surname, then like you say, that is something as a surname to say these people. That's their bloodline. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's as far as it goes from there. So when there was a king, it was the king of the Moors, because I never
Yeah.
heard about Moors. Yeah, he came to England in the 1613, the same time I'm talking about,
How
and
did that end?
he made a king speech. His name is King Cuddy. He's from Iberia, yes, West Africa. His name is
Sure.
King Cuddy. You could find him in the city of London, Guildhall, and you could heard about his story. So he
So that would
came.
be English history in the 1600s.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make it go to Scotland. So because he knew about the bloodline, because England, Scotland, and Wales and Ireland, they weren't a country per se. They were a kingdom. So they had dynasties, meaning bloodlines. So
Yep.
they weren't Christians. They just followed their bloodlines. They knew about their clans, and they knew that their bloodline goes all the way back to Egypt. They knew about this. Yeah, they knew about this.
Scotland probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the even the history on this. So the word that the king of the Moors spoke to identify or to give a bit of a, appeal to the crowd, some of the crowd, he used the word white, and that was coined as a playwright, and then it was published in the slave code of Barbados, 1661. You can find it. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the reason for slavery, like you say, slavery was based on the cruelty that was being done to the Slavic people. That's how the term slavery come about, to say if you get cruel treatment like these people, this is who you are. You're gonna be labeled as that, because you could find that term in the Ottoman, with the European slave depicted in 1608. It's an engravement published by Solomon Chernowski account of 1573. It tells you about that. So the word slavery didn't exist no other way but without Slavs. That's where the origin of it comes from, because of that cruelty that took place. But the
Didn't
what?
actually know that
Yeah,
because
yeah,
see me is the way I am now.
yeah.
I still think it's the same way that the Scots did a while back, but with less fear, because we now know that there are people of different races and colours and, scarily enough, religion. That I believe that the Scottish people are the exact same way, that we don't actually give a fuck about what your race, colour, or what your religion is. We have one rule and one rule only. If you act like a cunt, you'll get treated like a cunt.
Mm-hmm.
So there's
That's a
no
good
care.
thing.
No, the thing you're asking about the whole why am I white?
No.
That is an irrelevant question
It's not.
towards how the world should be treated.
It's not. Listen. I'm getting there, because it's a strong history. Like I say, you come in at a point which that is your surname, so you're
Yep.
saying this is me. All right. Yeah.
Yep.
So
No, it's not me. It's
no,
part
like
of
your
me.
family, your bloodline. If you're saying you, I mean you're representing your family, right? So it's you're representing your family. If you say, "Oh," if someone come up to you and they say, "Are you white?" You're saying, "No." You can't say it's not me. You're gonna say it's me. That you're representing your family. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, I can do, but I also have a choice. That doesn't mean a family member before me hasn't made a mistake. I'm not saying they have. I'm just saying the hypothetical that they could have made a mistake in a particular way of a particular people of a particular race
mhm.
and not liked it, which we could have done in the you were saying the 1600s. We could have seen, for example, black people coming over our border, not
Yeah,
understanding what black people are because we've never seen it before. And natural human behavior is to fear the unknown.
yeah. But
And we're a very, very aggressive race when we're
yeah,
threatened. So not knowing that would be what you could say is an arguable way of saying I will defend myself against something I don't know.
yeah. No problem. So I'm gonna because like it seems like the understanding from you that before the 1600 Scotland never seen those that were Moorish. They say black used today black. Yeah. So I was
Anything that you would regard as white, or
let me,
I would regard as white. Maybe you and I have different definitions of it, but
no it's the think is the same. It's the same. So the thing is okay. So before 16, because this is a royal thing. This is not like this is authority. So Jacobin did the playwright, and that's when the word to identify a concept of why people came in. Yeah. So the what you say, it comes from your family. So you now have to go against the publications of this playwright and the King's Speech that was done in England. Yeah, that's just one thing. But the word before 1613, because white, because Latin is older than English. The word white in Latin meant albus.
yep,
Albus mean albino.
yep.
So again, you would not say, if I look at this you and I wouldn't say you're white. I will know your surname, but in before the word came
You'd
into
assume I was white.
say it again.
Because if I gave you my surname and you looked it up, you would automatically assume I was white.
No, we would assume if you don't have knowledge, yes. If you don't have knowledge,
Exactly. That's the
exactly.
whole point I was
That's
making.
the reason. That's for the whole purpose of this. But look, that's what I'm saying. So we're gonna to the point. So before the word white came in existence, say, yeah, as a race to say identify, the word was albus, so that's albino, because you could find that in the
No,
king.
no, that's not true.
Look it up. It's
The
not.
word albus actually originated from the Latin, which actually meant dark, which meant night.
It means
No,
albino.
sorry, I'm sorry, that's a lie. That's a lie.
I'm
It
telling
actually
you.
came from the Egyptian word of albus, which was actually very, very close to the word Anubis. This
No,
was used for the darkness of death, the cloud of death.
look again. Just look it up. Albus means
That's fine,
white.
I will.
Yeah. It also like, and you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're not wrong. I'm giving you more to strengthen the conversation.
No,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you as well. I'm not fighting you. I'm just giving you what I know.
Yes, that's great. That's what I want. So again, the word albus means white, and albus is that the word that's deriving from albino. That is the word. That's where it's coming from. That's why it's true when
No,
you
no,
see.
that's now the current. That's not the origin. Not even close. It's the current. You're doing it within the current, and it may be within 200 years. But you have to think of the advancements we've made in speech and language within the 200 years.
Yeah,
Like nobody.
albus,
Well, I'll
albus.
give you an example. You had difficulty pronouncing my screen name, which is Abscu.
Yeah, abscue. Yeah,
That's Latin.
yeah.
It
Fair
means
enough.
absent.
Yeah.
So you didn't know that. How
No,
are
I
you
didn't know.
supposed to
No.
know what things meant
Yeah.
before that?
So I'm saying the word white means albus, which is albino. There
Yeah.
is no different. There's no different word to choose.
Mm.
That's why you could find even in French, like the word blanco, it also means in English mean Blake, also refers to as albino, also Blake or black, meaning albino also.
So how would that work then if a Frenchman came over and spoke to another person and said the word Blake?
No, because of the thing, language as a supremacy, like it as a presidency. So the
Actually,
lang-
you're completely correct, and I'm going to say
yeah,
something, and I please hope you do not take offense to this.
no problem. Go ahead.
Actually, you know what? I'll ask you
No,
instead of saying it.
go on.
Spanish word for black.
Say that again.
What is the Spanish word for black?
It's negro, something like that. Yep, should be like that.
And where do you think that originated from?
Where does it originated from? Niger.
And it was transformed into something what we now consume as racist.
Yeah, because there is when you want to offend someone, you don't say the word properly.
Yeah.
You get it, because I met those that was on the other side of the river. To offend them, they're not gonna say the word properly, so it's an offense. That's when it becomes an offense because they're not saying the word properly. So that word then used as an offense. You know what I'm trying to say? If you don't know where
Yeah.
that's why again, if you don't know the actual origin of where the word come from,
That's why I said
it would be an
for you to
offensive
see
one.
it. If you were to misinterpret what I was saying there, it could be found as offensive.
No, but remember, exactly. But I realize you have, like I said, you would use knowledge. You said you have knowledge, so you had strong. So I'll say, okay, I understand that this person is not just ignorant. He's not an ignorant person. He has
No,
knowledge.
I'm a very ignorant person, and being an ignorant person is very, very good, but you have to be open to learning something, not just accepting it.
No, ignorant. If you use it in a positive, the word
Yeah.
ignorant, it also could mean like when you
Ignorance
ignore
actually just
something.
means I don't know.
No, not also. Not just also to ignore. When you say ignore, that doesn't mean to also don't know.
No,
Ignore.
ignorance is I don't know.
Yeah. So no, it's also
Ignorance.
to ignore. When you mean ignore, like for instance, you could ignore someone from if they're screaming, or if you need to run, you could ignore running and just walk. That's also another. The word is a double word. It's also ignorance could mean lack of knowledge, and ignore or ignorant or ignore could means again just to not do something. So
Yeah.
you could ignore being bad and do good. So there's two difference in the word.
Exactly.
Exactly, I'm trying to say. So it's
To bring it back to the original point that you're putting, where do you think the word white originated from to bring it to this point?
but that's what I was saying. Latin, yeah, Latin was before English. So any person that want to speak English or is creating an English language would have to derive it from an authority. So word don't just come out of nowhere. It needs authority. So the word albus in English, because it has to come from somewhere, means white. So those that are albino, so because white didn't exist, so they are, because in the human race, they are very dark to very pale. That's why I was coining again. This you could find this in the King James Leprosy Hospital 1543. You could find it because again, from very dark to very pale. When you reach pale, there's fair skin. You could be fair, like very 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 light. Yeah.
Wait, do you mean pale as in the English word pale?
Yeah, pale. Pale also.
Yeah, but then to speak the word pale means two different things because the English language is three different languages or four different languages, one trench coat.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a
No,
lot of misinterpretation there.
so that's why you have to go to a precedence. So a language that is used from. You get what I'm trying to say. So you don't get lost in translation.
But how can you be? How
Okay,
could you not?
say it again.
How could you not be lost in translation when nothing can what before I would say even now
Because
we
there's
have
a
AI
precedence, yeah.
generation that's totally different. But if you were to go back even 200 to 300 years to the 1800s, like we don't exactly have the scholars of today, so to speak.
No, because things are authorized. Like it's written, it's documented, it's in all different like literature. So even if you don't have the scholars today, there's still people that are intelligent. Like
No,
they,
it's correct. We don't
yeah,
have the scholars, but those things were written.
yeah. Remember, there's still people that's living in all of these different areas. So if you want a person that speaks, because if a word is being translated, if it has a narration, meaning a chain, yeah, it's not just willy nilly. Just it's a straight word. You could find it. You will go to the people that spoke the word before the person that spoke the word after that, so that you could see whether he's saying the right word. So I'm just saying, just to get back to the point where albus, meaning albino, yeah, it's that was before the word white. So you would not, if I look at you, I would not say that you're white. I would say that you're albino, either leprous or pale. This is just,
Okay.
yeah,
Interesting way of putting it. I like that. Okay, that's
yes.
nice.
So because this identify you as a human, like a human,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's in the human race, you have very dark to very pale. There ain't no other sets of black or white, because like I'm saying, like I mentioned, that word that was published by a kings, so that got authority in 1613 to identify, to create a identity of white people. The word black came in 1722 from the Black Act. You can look it up, and this was about the face, painting their face black because and destroying the king's property. So whoever get caught destroying the king's property, they get the harshest punishment. So this is where the blackface comes in, because we didn't identify as black, we identify as Moorish, Moor. So they knew about this. So like you say, there wasn't no people of color in Scotland. The
Yeah.
the mother of Scotland, the word Scotland is coming from Scotia or Nova. Say Nova Scotia, Scotia or Scots. That is the daughter of Amenhotep III. That's a pharaoh. That's a pharaoh. She
Okay,
was
that
the
one I may
queen
have to
of the
look up.
Gael. Say it
I
again.
just know of my heritage, not the entirety of the entire, the whole land. But that one I may have to look up.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't know, that's what I'm saying. So that's why this is what I'm saying. The issue is when.
But wait, what color? What color, so to speak, would you call the Egyptians? Because you're talking about white and black. What would you call the Egyptians?
They're dark.
No, no, white and black are two, what we now call two separate colors of, the spectrum.
No, like I said, look, today, when you see an albino person, which that's where the word white derived from, you don't look at him and say that's a white person, do you? That's the issue. What I'm
Me? No,
saying.
because I'm fucking Scottish. We don't give a shit.
No, I'm saying as a I understand Scotland. Like I say, Scotland, they should of
No, we
know
shouldn't.
their heritage more than a label. Yes, they should know their heritage, because they weren't classed as Christians. They didn't have a religious programming. Because they should know where they come from. And if we don't, that's even a bigger issue than those that have been programmed to not know where they come from. The I'm trying to say is it's
No,
even
we
worse.
understand that. It just became the grape of the women that we had and the infrastructure that was built by the English, well, attempted by the Romans, but very, very quickly lost. And along with the Christianity aspect, that didn't really work until I don't really know the date. But the best I can tell you is we now have two football teams that fight each other.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the best thing I can give you.
That's true. No, so I could tell you. So, and again, it's relevant why because this is the strong point that I'm making, right? That word, again, for people that identify as white, came in that 1613, right? So the fact that when that king made that word
Which
public,
country?
published, they realized the Pope of the Roman Church realized that there were people, that there were still kings that kept like human rights, their human rights, so their family lineage. Yeah. And again, that name was
Wait,
given
the
to
Pope, the
everyone.
Catholic. Wait, do you know about the Pope, the Catholic Pope that endorsed slavery?
No, no, so look, I was saying so exactly. So they realized that okay, there is still king exists that could always, if they're trying to create a conflict, then like there will be kings that are able to enforce human rights and
Yeah. So if
protect
you're white,
certain
you're good. If
groups.
you're black, you're bad. That's where your definition of white and black comes in.
So check this. So the papal bull that was introduced was to remove the rest of the Moors, and then attack those that were either pagans, those that just follow their family lineage only, not
Yeah.
Christianity. And that's when you had like the witch hunt that happened all in Scotland and Ireland, all of these things to remove the rest of the bloodlines that were strong,
Oh
that
no, no,
knew.
it wasn't a witch hunt. It wasn't a witch hunt at all. It was grape. It
Yeah,
was
it is.
it was prima nocta, and it was tried to do beforehand. Even the Vikings attempted and lost that.
Yeah, yeah. So it was to remove, like I say, those the bloodlines that, like I say, that knew where they come from, because it's common knowledge that every person on the face of this earth have black heritage or dark heritage. You know, it's not
Like I said, I've looked back in my head, and I'm still wondering about your background question about I don't know where mine is. I'm just wondering about you. Is it an issue for yourself that
of
people
course,
don't
because
know where the heritage is?
it not no not the fact that the fact that the word that was used to protect those that were not necessarily Christians from being genocide against was then turned around to create genocide against other people by them. But
That's religion, not color.
no, the color itself, the
They're
word.
really, really irrelevant because
No,
the
no,
most
I'm saying
prominent
the word
people,
white.
especially in the Western world, are actually black
No, no, you're not
as
getting what
we're
I'm trying to
using
say.
that word, and they're Christian.
No, the word black came in 300 years ago. The word white came before black. As to say identify, because there's no person to say they're black, like that's a color. To reduce itself down to a color, that means you just stripped away your old psychology and saying you're a color. Think about what, just use psychology. If you have, just use some basics things and see how this measure the severity of the illness take place. If you say, I forget all about my thousand millions of, as long as I exist,
Yeah.
bloodline, just to reduce yourself down to a color that, like I say, only exists 400 years ago. So you're saying, forget about my whole family heritage, or as far as I'm coming back, I'm only going to be existing for 400 years.
So we've looked at a person's skin color and labeled it, but then we've added tags onto the
Yeah,
color of that skin color. What does
exactly.
being white and what does being black mean to you?
It's a offense. It's an offense, and
Wait,
it's a
what
sin.
what's being black or being white?
What's being, it's
No, 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 no. Is it being black or being white? It's a sin to you.
both.
Why?
Because
Do you find
again,
offense in it?
what's that?
Do you find offense in somebody being called white or Caucasian, as we originally called it?
No, because like I say, the word was albino. So why don't you say you're albino no more then? Because the word before white was albino. So it's offensive. It feels different, doesn't it, when I say that? Or pale or leprous.
But
Those are the same word. That's the
are
same.
you
But
from?
that has more humanity in it than saying white. Because white is not a human thing. It's a color. If you get what I'm trying to say, imagine don't find it too hard. The psychology is real.
No, I get you
To
because it's
say
also the same
white,
thing as
that
saying
means you take.
African American.
No, because it has more. It has a humanity. It has humanity, but it's like a contradiction.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
like
same
being
what
two
I've said.
placed in one.
African American, as in, the slaves were brought over and they did a whole bunch of bad stuff to those people. And now they've just went, yep, you've got the same rights, but we're not going to regard you as full American. You will still be labeled as African, which has a whole bunch of labels stuck onto it, as in you came from Africa, which is predominantly black, apart from obviously South Africa, which is now predominantly white because, as we said, like white people have taken over a whole bunch of places.
No, but you
Would
see
that
what I'm
not be
trying to say.
would that not be a little bit
No, but you see what I'm trying to
funny?
say. The programming is very strong to break away from that the word white, because it's
Yeah.
not it's not an actual, it's an offense when you're speaking, but because the word is a beneficial, it doesn't feel like an offense, because it's been leading
And like you said about psychology, that's why they
humanity.
call you African American.
Yeah, it's weird, but the reason that I'm
No,
saying.
if it'd be racist to call you Black American. You're
Mhm,
African American
mhm,
because they only just get sold to you or enslaved over to America.
mhm.
I mean, that would be offensive, but it's okay if you're African American, not black,
Yeah, that's true.
African.
I agree that, because you're not reduced down to a color. But
Of
I'm
course,
trying to say,
that's why they use the word African.
so that's what I'm saying. So imagine that word was used as a social a social structure to protect those that again were not Christian, but again knew about their bloodline. They were not, as they were created as a social structure, as for a protection, so as a human right. So that when you use the word, it was for human rights to say, okay, I'm not a part of this religion. So again, when you do approach me, just like again you had Nazi Germany and the Jews, they couldn't know who they are because they all look the same. So they had to make sure they identify themselves differently, right? It's just like that. So that's what was taking place, and that human right was used again because they saw that was a phrase to identify people that might look the same as them but weren't the same. They said, okay, let's adapt that. So let's remove the person that helped implement that the security. So they removed the Moors, the rest of the Moors out of Europe.
Yes.
Yeah. When
But everything you're saying is, I'll agree with you, but there's a particular word that can be used. It's called dehumanization.
yeah, exactly. All right, that's a good word.
That's it. That's
Truly.
all it was. It is regardless if you're black or white. Well, it's not because that's a visual thing. Obviously, you can't really disregard that. But the whole Jewish thing you're talking about with the Nazis and whatnot, yeah, of course, people could have lied, but they were too proud.
All right.
That's a difference. That was a choice. You could have just lied,
No, because of the
but
benefits. No, exactly like I mentioned. Exactly what you mentioned. That's good. So the fact that not everyone that you saw that looked the same, they were white, because it wasn't a racial thing. It was it was a human right. It was a protection. You get what I'm trying to say now. So it's like
but if you were white, you had more protection.
because it was a purpose.
Yeah,
Yes, it was a social construct to protect those that were not Christians or not non-religious.
yeah.
It was used, yeah. But look, because that was the start of the 16. But then again, because they realized that is now something as like something that you could use. So when they removed the Moors, then everyone started to adapt it to the actual system based on the slavery that was taking place from the Slavs. The Moors was embedded in that slavery, and that's where they the word where you could say identify others, just like I say black as slave. It wasn't that they are a slave, but they, because of the insult, to give an insult, they would say that they're Slavs because of the cruelty that has been done. You know, like you're insulting someone. So what you don't like, what place you don't like? You might not like English. So
England.
if I call you England, if I call
No,
you
yeah.
English, if I call you English, it's a offense.
You totally fuck off. Aye.
Yeah, right, but you know, language. But exactly what I'm trying to say. It will be an offense. So to make to create to be offensive to those that protected their family members, because like I say, it was a Moorish king that knew about their bloodline, and he came to England. So he made sure that those that were created, they give them the human rights of protection, but then again, they turn the Pope, like you say, realized that this was a case to remove the rest of the Moors out, so that again those that were in England would not have the protection, and that's why the persecution took place with the Scots, the Irish, some of the English, some of the Welsh, by those that were from like Germany, and that's why the war continued to this present day. Because when you take away the information or the knowledge of where it's coming from, obviously you become more ignorant and you become more lost to the actual fact of why was this implemented. So now everyone is adapting it because of the freedom and rights that it was given, and then it was turned again because those that were white was leading humanity and been leading humanity for 400 years. And I could say, yeah, from my eyes and majority of people's eyes, it has not been positive. And because the reason why they're positive, because of the psychology of where the existence of it has been removed. For it to be a sanctuary for safety, then being used to cause destruction. Imagine it's a paradox. Imagine.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. I've got a quick question for you then.
Go on.
Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Do you think if a white man spoke the exact same words, word for word, if there was a white man standing in his place saying that, would it have been as impactful?
What? Which one? Which word? Today we have a dream.
That speech, the speech we all know, they were taught in school.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a white man?
Yeah.
Do you think it would be?
Of course, because just like any other person, if the white race has been leading humanity, whatever they say, even if they lie, that is gospel. Just like every lie that has been told so far, that again, it's through slavery that those that are dark end up in America. That is a lie. But because it was said, like I say, because it was said, it becomes truth. No, that's the whole problem, because the whole thing is a lie in the first place, because that word to say white is not for that privilege to tell a lie. It's to tell the truth of why the word existed in the first place. So like I say, when things are turned around based on you, like, because when you have advantage, when someone give you your strength. Imagine someone give you a shield to protect you from.
Just say white privilege and go on with it.
Say it again.
Just say you're talking about white privilege and go on with it.
No, it's because it's not a privilege. It's not a privilege to. It's not. 1 second. Let me. It's not a privilege to be in a lie.
No, because I don't believe there's any particular color of person that had the privilege. Actually, no, that's not true.
No, because it might, look, again, imagine cut off. The people that basically don't have too much knowledge, they would say, okay, it's a privilege.
Nothing to do with skin color. I'm sorry, I just saw a comment there from.
No, it's true though. It's not.
Are you not funny? Yeah, that's actually true. It's literally a lack of education.
Yes, but look. Imagine saying that it's a privilege to exist for only 400 years. But does that make sense? How does it make sense? How does it do anything to humanity? Like, how does it benefit? Look, imagine they're saying humanity has existed millions of years, and they're still finding bones to predate that. And imagine if humanity has been existing for 400 years, then the qualification to lead humanity, you actually have to need a lot of strong knowledge, strong wisdom, because there's a million years of that education is required to lead. So you're saying you're going to give up that million years, you're going to take 400 years and try lead. It's like a 4-year-old saying that I'm going to lead the world now. There's no benefit in it. It might, you see, like when a 4-year-old, they get sweets and that, they might say, oh, that's a privilege because it's only for a moment. It does not, it's like it won't last. There's no lasting, there is no strong foundation because you have accepted to cut off your
It's the exact same
yourself.
as you guys accepting presidents, and the exact same as us accepting prime ministers.
That's
I
true.
don't think it should be done on race or color or anything. It should be who benefits you,
That's
not
true.
what they look like.
That's true. I
And
agree.
also, you guys are having a particular fight at the moment of, the actual racist white guy, and, well, I will be a little bit sexist in here, but I do have data to back it up that no woman has really taken on a particular, universal role as a leader and done well. But I do have hope that it will work out. But at the same point, that was me sounding sexist, but all you have to do is do a quick little Google search of any female that's been prime minister in my country, and it's not really went well. So you're not doing it off of a sexist point of view or the color of the skin. It's literally statistical data.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
understood about
like, for example, when Obama took power, I think he did a very, very good job as a person.
No, he didn't. That's what I'm
I
saying.
think, but
It was a weak point. But there's
right?
people, they understand.
Did he? Okay, you believe he did a bad job? Was that because he didn't know where his heritage came from?
Because he wasn't, he didn't know about where his humanity is coming from. That's a bit different.
Humanity.
Yeah.
Would that not be entirely subjective then?
No,
Why not?
because we're all humans, and we
So that would be subjective. You're all human with different experiences.
that will be objective. It means it's certain. Subjective it could be challenged. We're all on planet
Well,
Earth.
objective can be challenged. Subjective can't be, because you can't challenge what you think.
Of course, that's why there's challenges every
against
day.
it, and then it becomes objective.
No, that's why there's challenges every day. When an objective is like an order, you just follow it and do it because
Yeah.
it's not subjective. You get what I'm trying to say? So subjective is where you could actually make up another alternative. Say if you have a point of view and I have a point of view, we could have a point of view forever. But to get to a solution, we have to have an objective to say, okay, oh yes, that is like if I look at a chair and you're looking at a chair. What I'm saying, I'm looking at the side of the chair. No, you're saying you look at the front. But we could argue with that forever. But to get to the point where we stop arguing, we're just saying that, oh yeah, it's a chair. That's it. So
But can you agree objectively that the color of your skin is irrelevant?
The color of your skin, because the label. No, because the color of your skin, is where, like, you have doctors and they're checking.
Oh no! Don't get it wrong. The idea that there are people, there are black people and there are white people that have differences in scientific and medical uses.
The psychology is strong, though. I get you. Hey, look.
No. I'm not talking about psychology. I'm talking about actual medical uses. For example, black people need different. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it is, but they have a lower tolerance to certain things. Oh my God! They have a higher chance of diabetes because of something, and I can't remember. I think it's diabetes. Oh my God! I'm totally getting
inflammation. It's like inflammation.
There is something that people with higher melanin have a higher chance of getting,
like deficiency.
Like people who are white.
It's a deficiency. So if you don't have enough,
that's the word I'm looking for. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So, but that's a psychological.
That's where you were born in heritage.
Yeah, but that
you're typically looking at the person's
That
Skin
doesn't say
color?
that you're actual black though. That's not a color thing. Like if you when you say you're dumbing yourself down to just say white, black, but if you look at yourself, you obviously you're not white because you have blood running through your hands and blood, you're red.
No, 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 no. Sorry.
Myself,
No,
if I look
no.
at myself, I look, I say, all
What
right,
color? What color is your blood?
I look brown.
What color is your blood?
It's blue. It's blue and
It's blue.
blue and red. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we both have the same blood. We both breathe the
Yes.
same oxygen.
Exactly.
That's it.
But that's what makes us humans, not
Yes.
white and black.
And
That
then
that
now
is
that you have the
oppression.
ability of visual aspect, that's
Yes,
the only thing that people make a remark upon.
but that is what's restricting humanity.
Which is stupid.
That is true. Exactly.
Utterly stupid.
So it's like we have to clarify. We have to give strong knowledge, identification. You have to identify where the problem is, because if we don't, it's
Yeah.
gonna continue. It's like I say, the structure does not uphold for like for solution. It's just problems.
Well,
More
I
problems
can give you an
after problems.
example of that. I obviously told you I live in Scotland. One of our ministers
Yeah.
actually stood up in our, so to speak, court where all our ministers speak, and he was, let's say, not white, right? So we don't, umbrella that effect.
Yeah.
And he said there are too many white people in power. Our population is about 80% white.
Wait,
But
he may
because
have a
we-
right statement. I don't look based. He might speak based on his ignorance or not, or if he might. You have to. If he might be speaking on ignorance, or
we do it
he might be
mathematically.
speaking on, because, like I say, if it's used as that indication, that privilege, like you say, if it's
Oh
used,
no, it was. It flat out was. It was
Exactly.
done
So-
as in there are too many white people in power. Like if you look at the entire speech, the head of this department, they're white. The head of this department, they're white. The head of this department, they're white. And people were thinking, you have a problem with white people being in power,
Mhm.
whereas you actually are in a position of power,
Mhm.
equal to them. But
Yeah.
you're pissed off because they have a different skin color to you. Not that they're very good at their job, just that they have a different skin color to you. Their education, their upbringing, everything before that. And believe it or not, Scotland is not currently a wealthy country. We're actually put on the back foot. We have the heel of England on our necks
True.
constantly. So we're giving not a lot of money, and we do the best we can. And then we have somebody who has immigrated, which we're completely fine with, telling us because of our skin color, we shouldn't be in power because of our skin color.
It's like I say, some people that identify, like, only have been reduced to the identity to say that as a color, to say that I'm white and you're like, I'm black and you're white. Obviously, they are gonna be speaking like that. It will resonate like that. You would
Why?
because of their, like I say, they're lacking
Education.
education. Yeah. So that and when you do identify as that, you lack something. You're lacking. It's not a development.
Do you believe it could be racism?
But racism is a
It's not.
deprivation
It
of,
is.
of
I believe
information.
it's hereditary, and it's only hereditary because your parents teach you.
Yeah, no, of course, it's a lack of knowledge. Because to be racist, that means you're lacking something. You don't have a clue of your heritage, and that is a psychological issue. That's what I'm saying. It's a deprivation. So if we don't know where things originate from, then we could cut off our own rights, our own lineage, our own
Human
roots.
rights. Because I believe they're human rights.
Human rights, yeah.
There's no fucking point in fighting each other when you have the ones who are in power telling you, I don't like this. And you'll
Exactly.
go, yeah, I agree with you. Why?
But check this.
Fucking why? Why are you agreeing with this fucking idiot?
Exactly. Abskill, check this, right? And look, so that's what I'm saying. So all of the implementation of like identification down to the point of color is to reduce, is to make you weak, is to make the population weak, is to make humanity weak. Because the more you lack social development, history development, the more weaker you get, yeah? So as you can see, that's the result of the device that has been set for humanity to become weak. So if someone say this and they're saying yes, because they don't have a strong development of whether the person is telling the truth or not. You know, it's like a weak person. A weak person is easier to submit to anything because they're not strong enough to. Because you know they say the word, the truth will set you free. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's half of the statement, though. The truth would only set you free if you're strong enough. Because a weak person, if something, he can't even be strong enough to get out the door. How is he gonna be free if the truth is a strong thing? The truth is very strong. So you have to be strong enough so that you can be free. You don't
It's
see.
not about it's not about setting you free. It's about what benefits you.
Look, but look what I'm trying to say. On Earth, the rules are the performance. If you check, it's called a ground rule. So you could have sports ground, football ground, whatever ground is there. It requires to either have a strong intelligence or strong tactical mind, strong physical aspect, and strong emotional aspect, so that you could win. That is just it's the rules of the earth.
Totally agree with you.
So if
The difference is you and I mean, I see your hands flapping up, right? And I've already told you I'm white. You and I really have actually just had the discussion,
yeah,
knowing each other's skin color, and it hasn't made much of a difference. We've actually just spoke as people,
no, but
as human beings.
No, we have because we know that we know the deceptive. We know where it's coming from. We haven't. We know that it's not the chain is not that strong for us. We could break through. You get what I'm saying? But
Exactly.
like I said,
I appreciate that.
but that's what I'm saying. Strong.
I was trying to circumvent into saying that I'm going to go because I've just realised that literally Batman has been waiting for 50 minutes, so it would be only fair to let this person come up.
All right, I appreciate your Abscue. Yeah,
No, I appreciate your time as well. That's actually been quite informative, and I've learned a few things, and I appreciate your time again.
I'm gonna follow you, so you're good, right?
And yourself, sir.
All right, then. Have a great rest of
And yourself.
Yes. Abscue remind me. Literally Batman. Appreciate it. Hey, again.
Thanks very much again.
I appreciate it for coming up. You're strong. Like I said, that's why again this is why I create this program, to create again strong people, to have a strong conversation, because right now we need strong people, right? Like, it's because that's what's gonna change the course of humanity. Strong people. I don't know, Batman. Batman might be sleeping. Batman, going once.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
I appreciate your patience. That's sign of strength. I'm not gonna lie.
I was enjoying the conversation. I was letting it flow. I didn't want to interrupt, so I just sat here and listened for a bit.
That's great. So, obviously you got a lot of it, and you see where I'm coming from. Where the fact that just I did tell him, but the fact that because I'm mixed, right, and but I'm on the darker part of the mix, yeah.
Okay.
The privilege don't benefit me, right?
Okay.
But when I look into the whole scope of everything, I'm thinking this is foolish. Like this is a disease. This is a device to weaken humanity. Like it, we're the weak, we're as weak as we can get at this moment, and the generation is coming up, and they need strong examples so that again they could continue. Because again, I don't see nothing weak continue. Just like leaves on a tree, it withers and blow up. So we need strong examples so that we could have a better future for the generation to come. And yourself, so I was, what do you, so what do you identify as? You might be intelligent because you've been listening, so you have a way you could, yeah, go ahead. Let me
Okay,
hear what
well,
you're saying.
I am white English,
Yeah.
and I sort of joined the call because I was more intrigued about not so much the question itself,
Yeah.
but the meaning behind the question. So on screen, you have at least 95% of people that identify themselves as white don't know the truth about where their identity of whites originated from. Well, my question is more about why this question is important. Because let's say that a white person nowadays, I'll admit I don't have a super strong historical background as to my white heritage. I know I'm white. I know my family are white English. Where that comes from in terms of going back years and years to where people immigrated to England, I'm not 100% sure. But I'm 21 years of age, and that hasn't affected how I've lived as a person. My white originality, where I've originated from, as far as my skin color and my heritage. I'm wondering, do you think it's a negative thing that someone nowadays might not know their ancestral history? And if so, what impacts would that have on a contemporary white person to not know their white lineage?
Of course. All right. That's a good. It is a terrible thing. It's a horrific. Like I'm being strong about it. Horrific, right?
Okay.
Um, you don't see, like, for instance, it's backwards to say I'm white and English. Yeah,
Okay.
because a white person cannot be English. An English person could say that they're white because white is not an existence. It's non-existence. But English people is an existence. They have a lineage like that goes since the beginning of time. Yeah. A
Okay.
white don't have that lineage that goes to the beginning of time because it was created in 1613. So imagine that's, so you see where the issue comes in. To give up your whole lineage, say you're English, to give up that lineage, your English lineage. Like I say, you're not white yet. You're just only English. It doesn't. There's no color there. You know your bloodline. You know you're from that house, and you could follow that as long as people was living. But now to say that I am white, it doesn't. It's not. It doesn't have a lineage. It has an existence of only 400 years. So to reduce yourself to 400 years, it's a psychological problem. It's an issue because the more you know about where you're coming from, the more attachment you have to other people because you're inclusive, you're not exclusive. So inclusivity is based on psychological development. When you
Okay.
separate, it's because when you separate from that, it's a deprivation from social development, and when you don't have that, you could be morally controlled based on people implementation. So like, if you only know that you're white but don't know your heritage, then you would cause more problem than solution because you're lacking something. You're lacking connection. You're lacking
Okay.
sensitivity. You're lacking, there's a lot of things,
Okay, just to go back, when you said, what do you identify as? I said, okay, well, I'm white English.
Yeah.
I think we need to define how we're using the word white, because when you ask me how I identify as, I said white English. That is white, me being white in color, and English as in my nationality. So I noted my color and nationality. But then you mentioned that the word white doesn't have a lineage.
Yeah,
I know it doesn't have a lineage. I'm using the word white as a visual aid, right? That's why I'm using the word white. You said that white. Did you say white originated in 1613? How did you mean that the word white or that
Yeah.
white originated?
So so another a way to describe yourself, you could say that right, I'm light or very fair. That it
I could.
doesn't. You see, I'm trying to say. So for to be programmed to then use something that do not give a stronger features about you is you can still
Is
reduce
light
it
a
to two.
stronger? Does light give stronger features than white? Because
Yeah, of
light
course.
is any color can be light. You can have light blue, light pink, light purple, light black.
Exactly.
I'm white. I'm not any of those colors. If I say I'm light, that could refer to any color on the spectrum. The reason I say I'm white is because that is the color of which my group of the people I look more like, white people, right? Caucasian would be the most accurate word I could use.
But
But the
check.
word white is used in a formal setting.
I look. See, and I'm just to highlight. That's how strong the actual that program is to say that you're to say okay white, but because now, yeah, those that are albino more whiter than you, they're not
Okay.
identified as white.
Right.
How
Because,
comes? Tell me now. Tell me that those that are more whiter than you, they're
yeah.
not identified. So tell me now, how would that make sense?
Well, the word albino, contemporarily speaking, the way it's used today is used differently to how it was originally. Because over time, language changes to be
No,
used.
no, but I'm saying, remember, you said identity. So you're saying, remember,
Yeah,
see
I'm
now,
explaining it. Because contemporarily speaking, albino isn't used to denote an ethnicity like white is. Albino is used to denote someone with a pigmentation issue. You can be black and albino. Black albinos exist. You can Google that. That means that they're black ethnically, but they're albino due to their pigmentation. So initially speaking, or originally when the word albino was used, it may have just been used to refer to a white person, but over time it has evolved to be used contemporarily, today's society, to denote a person with a pigmentation issue,
all right,
right?
no, see, this is the issue again.
Okay.
This is how strong this deceptive program is, because again, the word albus in Latin for albino, it means white. That's what the word that's what white originally come from.
Okay.
And look, and black, the same black, it also originated from albino as well.
Okay.
Because it wasn't identified as a color to say that's my color, there wasn't, because color really didn't exist. It's weird. Imagine that people just, the color, they knew you by your house. That's why before time you had a clan, you had a family, you had a house. That was enough for
Okay.
humanity to be able to identify a person. Like, they were very intelligent. Now remember, it's the reduction of human intelligence to actually know where they're coming from has been reduced down to two things, which requires the intelligence of knowing where you come from to give that more details. Because if you say, that's why the first thing you said you're white English. You had
Yep.
to add the English to it to actually give it a more stronger substance.
Because you could be white Polish, you could be white Russian, you could be white South African.
Yeah, so you're giving it life, but the life is
Right?
English,
Well,
Russian,
it's
Scottish.
nothing to do with giving it life. It's to do with giving it specificity, because you could be black and born in England. So for me to say I'm English doesn't fully denote who I am as a person. You talk about lineage. If I was born in England to English parents, but I'm black, that would mean that my lineage would eventually go off down a path that is different to a white person born in England to white parents. So I'm not saying white to give it life. I'm not saying white
No,
British to give it life. I'm saying it to give it
but
specificity because I am white.
that's, look, I I get how strong this program is. This the fact that, again, in the human race, in human existence, yeah, human existence, they are very dark to very pale. The
Okay.
white and black don't exist. To
Right.
identify someone in the human world, in the origin, in the basis of our existence. So without Earth, without being human, there's no existence. there ain't no black or white. There is dark and pale. So how now, as I'm saying it, because it's a very strong program, I get it, where it's used as a deceptive thing. It's definitely used as a decept, where it's now such a program that is just automatically saying. So now the origin of it now, it gives it more reason why it's being said that is true. So in 1613,
Okay.
that is a strong point for every person that identifies themselves as white to know, and they should. And this has not been taught in school for a reason, because they don't want that to free
Okay.
or to strengthen the people that has been labeled as this title. Because in
Okay.
1613 there were crusades going on. There were still wars. There were still religious wars. Yeah,
Okay.
all
Okay.
over the world. Yeah, the Ottoman Empire was the strongest. And it was definitely heading towards the destruction of Europe, the destruction of those that were Christians in Europe. It was to extinct. They were gonna go into extinction.
Okay.
This
Okay.
you could find out the records. It's already historically.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone knows
Just to bring this back though, because my original question was the bearing that the history has on contemporary society. Maybe that's a better way of phrasing it. When you're talking about the history, so like in 1613 and the Ottoman Empire and stuff, what bearing does that have on contemporary society, on people nowadays, on white people now? Let's say that they don't know their lineage. What are the direct effects that you can correlate to not knowing their lineage? What actual negative impact does that have on life now? Because you've referenced Latin. I don't think Latin has any bearing on society nowadays, especially language-wise. If you find a lot of words in English language that originate from Latin, which is a lot of them, the definitions that we use are wildly different from the Latin, the original Latin words. So how does the history affect contemporary society for people who have a certain skin color?
Yeah, so I'll give you. So when you use the word Latin, yeah, and it doesn't have no bearings in this present day, is because again, to keep a conduct, a clear record, it has to be watered down. It has to be modeled up. So you will change the word. You will have a change in aspects of it. So there won't be a trace of what things really mean, because Latin is older than English. So that was it. So the bearing of the history of people not knowing the identification of white originate, where the identification of white originate, is that in 1613, I have to repeat this, it was created. Remember I was saying it was created by a playwright called Jacobin. Look it up. It's a Jacobite. It's a Jacobite called Thomas Middleton. Yeah.
Okay.
It said it was invented, the concept of white people, 1613, and it was the reason why this happened. The fact that, again, religious wars that was taking place in Europe, and majority of Europe, they were the same appearance, but not all of them were Christians.
Okay, so you said the bearing that not knowing your lineage has on you is that in 1613, a playwright named...
Let me finish. I'll get you again.
Because I'm looking for the link to contempt, because the way your question is phrased is that it says at least 95% of people identify themselves as white don't know the truth. It's phrased in a present tense. So I'm looking for the link to present day, how this would affect me.
Do you know about Thomas Middleton?
I don't know about Thomas Middleton, though.
All right, so this is why it will affect you. Thomas Middleton, like I say, is a playwright, and he invented the concept of white people based on a speech that was given from a Moorish king that came out of Iberia called King Cudi, due to the fact that, again, Europe was about to be extinct. So if that wasn't given to you, again,
Okay.
you probably wouldn't exist. You know, that's
No,
that's
I would exist. I would just exist under a different label. I would
no.
exist as a
So
different
so
word. I would
so
still
so
exist.
I get so as in where you have a lot of say I don't know if the word is viable to say on here, but a lot of Jewish people, a lot of Jewish families, they're not existing today based on what happened. Yeah. So in that time, it was the same equivalent, but probably on a massive scale. So the King Cudi came to England, and he made a speech to provide a different a different identification or a social group or social protection for those that again were
Okay.
leprous, albino, or
Had
pale.
had that not happened, had that speech not been given, had King Cudi not come out, had that playwright not have given that classification, what would have happened to us now? So me, as a white person living in England today, had that not happened, had that 1613 event not taken place, what negative impact would that have on me now?
Probably been in slavery. Because
Probably been slavery.
no, yep, I'll tell you. So the Ottoman Empire,
Okay.
so the Ottomans with European slaves depicted in 1613 engraved by Solomon Schiniger account of 1575. Because again, the Ottomans was taking majority of Europeans, but mostly Slavs, which that's where the term slavery came from, Slav, because of the cruelty that the Ottoman brought
Yes,
on them.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a case for majority of those that were in Europe that it was gonna be a thing. So like I say, the word was to use to protect those that were not necessarily Christians, but but looked all the same. So to give them like I say, human rights, a asylum, a protection. Yeah, it was used
Okay.
as a protection to protect those that were not. So because again this protection was there, just like how certain countries want to remove human rights because human rights protect certain people more than others. Yeah, it was then done by the Pope of Rome to remove the Moors that protect that use human rights to protect their family members, because England, Scotland, Ireland, it's not a country per se like a country. It's a kingdom and it's a dynasty. So made up of families. Kingdom dynasty is made up of families. So there are human rights for those families. And
Okay.
the king knew about, again, the human rights. So that was used as a protection. Firstly, when the Moor was removed from Europe based on the Papal Bill, it was used then for others to benefit from. And this is where everyone else started benefit from the word, because it wasn't
Okay.
everyone. You get what I'm trying to say? It wasn't an exclusive
Okay.
thing.
Just to sort of jump in there, because I feel like we're getting. I'm not sure if this is actually answering. So let's say that I am fully educated in this topic. Let's say that you give me like a 2-hour history lesson on this topic. What is the benefit today? What does that do for me? I'm talking contemporary society. I know the history dates back 1613, Ottoman Empire, and the stuff you're mentioning. But what is the actual benefit? What is the impact today? I'm talking about current society. How does that help me knowing this information? If someone were to ask me about my lineage and I give them a full history lesson, how does that benefit me as a white person?
Yeah, because of the privilege that was given then is being used today.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what is that?
because
What is
again,
that privilege?
that's why you have to understand, because humanity has been led by those that identify themselves for white for 400 years. This is something that's known. It's not like and that it has been used, that identity, majority not positive, it has been negative. It's not like everyone know, if you're not if you're not like strong enough to accept it, that that is what's something that everyone knows. But like I say, So because that word was given as a new social structure as protection, when slavery took place across the world, as getting so the Barbados Code then was implemented. So those that were now protected under white did not end up in again as much atrocity as those that probably now then
Okay.
identify
Well,
themselves as black.
you mentioned a privilege that had been passed down that is still being benefited from today, correct?
Yeah.
What is that privilege? What is afforded to me? Okay, so you said you're more dark, you're mixed, but you're more dark.
Yeah.
I'm white. What is the actual privilege obtained? What do I have that you don't?
You haven't seen it. You haven't seen it. No, I mean, so you haven't seen society yet, right? No.
What do you mean by that?
So in society right now, where before, so from the 1600s to now, again,
Yeah,
yeah,
just now. I'm talking about just now, contemporary
but it's a lot of
society.
years, so it's a lot of benefits from that. So 400 years of benefiting. So
But what are those? So today, how have I? What do I have that I can use as a privilege? What do I have now? Because I haven't existed for 400 years. I've only existed for 20, 21.
yeah, like
So
your
in them
family
21
coming up.
years, what have I been afforded? Not in the 400.
But everything that you can, what have you done? I'm saying if you haven't done nothing with it, then I'm saying probably as lack of knowledge, done it. So you could.
So if I haven't used a privilege that I don't know exists, then it's a lack of knowledge of that privilege.
Of course. That's why.
So if I don't have access, so how do I access this? Because you just said that I'm not using the privilege because I don't have knowledge of it. We just agreed on that. Well, how do I access it then? Because if I have the right to because of my skin, then how do I access this? Because I would like to. If there's a privilege that I have access to that I can use, I would like to know how to use it. How would one access this?
So you don't know how to access your skin color. You don't know how to access it. This is I understand. It could be like I say, lack of knowledge where
I don't think it is. I think it's just logic application. I just don't think there is one. That's why I'm asking you to.
You don't think there is one?
No, I don't think there is. No.
Well, you have that privilege to say it. You know, I like.
Well, you can say it too. If I'm not going to stop you from saying it, you can say it doesn't exist, and no one's going to stop you.
No, for me, like because I said I have privilege because I know that I could go into certain community, I could be able certain way, I could do certain things. So it's like, so you don't see that you don't have no privilege. Are you just saying something, or you just don't see it?
No, I don't think I do have one. No.
Oh, I'd say that might be just you. You know what I'm saying, and that might be something that you might need to be strong on or know more. Because again,
well, you said I need to know more about it. Well, I'm asking you because you seem to know more about the privilege that I'm afforded than I do. So I'm asking you.
No, I know the history.
Okay, but how does that affect today?
Because I know what the benefit.
I'm trying to access it. You see, I'd like access to this.
Yeah, I know what the benefit
this privilege.
Done. I know what the benefit has done.
For me, okay, what would that be?
I don't know for you. I don't know.
Well, I am white, so if you're saying it's benefiting a certain race and ethnicity that I'm a part of, then the benefit's also passed on to me.
Yeah, but you have to tell me what you have done. If you haven't done nothing, then it's like you haven't used. So for me, as I am, like I said,
what haven't I used though? Okay, so you're saying I haven't used it. What is it? What is this thing?
You haven't used your identification, being white, no? You haven't traveled. You haven't had
because I don't. How would I use that? How would I use that?
You know. All right, I give you one. So
okay, go for it.
If you have a passport, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You could travel to more countries than others. That's
how do you figure that?
That's a privilege because.
How do you, is that true? How do you figure that? Where is that? Is that a legal claim? Is that a?
So you haven't traveled then. So if you traveled, you will find out. I'm telling you.
I've traveled, but I haven't stopped people of other colours and asked them if they're allowed to travel to countries I am. So I'm just wondering where this is based.
So it's just like immigration, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like immigration, like even today.
That doesn't answer the question. You said that I can travel to places that other people could. By other people, do you mean you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so where can I travel to that you can't?
So, for instance, I could
I can't go to certain like Barbados or anything else without going through immigration issues. Well,
Like
you can
what?
just travel straight through.
Like what?
So you
What
can
would these
travel.
issues
You could
be?
go to Barbados without having no issues, immigration issues. You could travel straight through. Even though I'm from the Caribbean.
So what would the issue be? You're saying there's issue. What would these issues be? If me and you were to go together as two mates to Barbados right now, what would be the issue that you run into that I get to avoid?
You don't see this, no?
No, I haven't been to Barbados before, and I've also never travelled with someone and used it as an experiment before. So I'm just wondering, because this is clearly hypothetical, right? So what would be the issue? Because you're saying there is one, which means you have one in mind. I just want to know what it is.
You will definitely be more. It's definitely that, again, as you're from say you're from England, so you're using that privilege that came from England, again, appearing as white. So you're using that to be able to travel and move around.
Okay, but in what sense? Okay, maybe if I phrase it as an example. Okay, so if me and you said Barbados, right? If me and you were going to Barbados, you said that you'd have more difficulties traveling there than I do. Okay,
Yes.
A difficulty in what would that difficulty be? Would the difficulty be that they simply don't let you travel? Would the difficulty be that they take your stuff from you when you travel through? Would the difficulty be that they put you on a flight that takes longer? What would that difficulty be?
The checks will be more difficult. So
Okay.
checking based on
What checks? What do you mean by this?
based on your racial group, it's a check.
Okay.
That
Are you
is
talking about profiling?
that is something. All right, you raised up at a point. Profiling is a real thing.
Yeah. So is that what you're referring to? You'd be profiled a certain way when traveling to Barbados.
Cool. Yeah, as well. Yeah, that
Okay.
that is true.
Okay. On what basis? So you're saying that they'd see you of a different color and they profile you. Where is the actual? Because this is clearly hypothetical because we're not traveling to Barbados right now.
No,
What is the actual evidence for this?
just on the ignorance of that person being labeled as black.
So they'd label you as black. So they'd see you coming through. They'd say he's white, he's black. So we put him through more checks.
So even if I say I'm white, yeah.
Okay.
Based on someone looking at
You're
me,
not white, so you wouldn't.
No,
Obviously, I wouldn't.
No, how do you know that?
Well, your
Because
hand's
you're
flashing
looking
on
at
the
me, innit?
camera,
That's
and it's
what
not
I'm
white.
saying. This
You've
is
told me that you're more dark and mixed, therefore not white. So I know you're not white.
No, I'm more dark. Yeah.
There you go. So you're not white.
So I'm saying, so you're identifying white as a
color, which it is.
skin color. That is already a restriction. That is already a privilege.
It's a privilege to note that I am a different color.
Of course it is.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege to know the difference between two colors.
But it's not 100% correct. You're identifying as a color, which is not, because if I look
I'm not identifying as a color. I'm identifying a person who is a color. There's a difference.
You're identifying as a color. What color?
No, as a person who is a color.
Yes, I'm saying.
White.
You're saying you're white, but
I am.
Clearly you're not white. You're pale. That's a color.
No, pale is you can have pale blue, pale pink, pale yellow. I'm white. I'm pale white. If you want to say pale white, that's fine. You can say pale white, but pale is a shade of a color. Dark, you can have dark red.
So
dark blue exists, but I'm not blue or red.
But look where we're at. We're at the point of identifying ourselves as a color, and we're going.
No, I'm not identifying as a color. I'm identifying as a person who is a color.
There is no not in nature. White do not exist like as a person identifying themselves as that color.
No, again, you're missing that. You don't identify as the color. You identify as a person who is a color. You're not that thing. I'm not an actual color. I'm not a palatable color that you can paint with. I'm a human who happens to be a certain color.
Why would you reduce yourself down to that?
It's not a reduction. You asked me.
Of course it is a reduction.
It's not a reduction.
Of course. Because what?
It's not a okay. If I were to ask you how you identify, how would you say it?
Why would I identify? I'm saying.
Why would you identify? You're being asked to. Why wouldn't you?
I would say.
Okay, so how would you identify? You asked me. Huh?
Yeah, no, of course.
Okay, so how would you do that?
Yeah, I'll say that I'm I'm brown.
That's a reduction. By your logic, you're not a
A
color,
little
are
bit
you?
dark.
Why would
But
you
no,
do that?
but I'm not black.
What's the difference? Why is
Of course, there's a
brown better than
difference.
black? Is that a better color?
Because a brown person could you would say that he's black, but that's he's not black. Look, a white person, which is an albino, you wouldn't say that he's white. You would say that he's black.
Well,
Do
I'm
you
not
get it?
albino because albino, contemporarily speaking, refers to a pigmentation disorder, which
No,
I don't
but
have.
the word albino means white. To identify a person as
It's
albino,
it's
that's
its
what the
Latin definition may mean that, but that's not how it's used today.
but Latin is as a more
Okay.
authority than English. It comes before English, so that is the actual word. If you change it as so that's a privilege again. So because now you're in the privilege to change things that again.
No,
Could be
I'm not
totally,
changing
of
it. I'm
course.
using it. I
No,
didn't
that's a
change the
change.
language.
So if you're in a privilege, you
No.
could change something. Just like again, those that
What did I change?
those that identify themselves as white, they could
No.
make up a story.
Again, they don't identify as they identify as a person who is white. But what did I change?
No, to say that is to say that albino,
Yes.
the Latin word is
Yes.
is used.
Okay.
Is not like it's not the
But
actual
what
word
language
for,
are we speaking?
but that's what it means in Latin.
In Latin, but we're not. This isn't. We don't
But
speak Latin.
But white is the word. So if you say that person, if you're looking at albino in English, you would say that albino is white because the word in Latin, the word in English is white. Latin,
Okay.
you get what I'm trying to say? So the word white
No,
in English
I know what you're
means
saying. I just reject that
albino.
it has importance. I
But
reject
that's
that Latin language has importance in contemporary society. Okay, have you seen that? This might be a more usable clip.
How could
Have you
it
seen a
have
clip
come
on TikTok of Charlie Kirk debating? And he asks, "Do you know what fetus means in Latin?" And the woman replies, "No." And he says, "Well, fetus means a little human being." Okay, so fetus means little human being. Is a dolphin fetus a little human being?
Not necessarily because it might be a different
No,
word in
because
Latin.
the Latin definition has been changed to accommodate for contemporary issues. If we use the Latin definitions for words, language
No,
gets
in-
all muddled up, like with fetus.
It's the
So the
other-
Latin definition, it may originally have been albino, but contemporarily speaking, that doesn't apply. So when the question
It's
that
the
you're
other way
asking is
around.
with present day, you can't use past language.
It's the other way around because without the past language, you wouldn't have a present day. So
And it's exactly, it's
the people that-
evolved
so
into
that's what I'm
this.
saying.
So we use this.
The importance. So the people that are speaking the language today, they could be speaking wrong because they don't know they don't have a
No,
reference.
we're not speaking it
where
wrong.
it comes
If-
from.
if-
So that's why you could corrupt old languages.
if-
The meaning
Okay, well,
of things it becomes weak. You get what I'm trying
You
to say?
said you could speak it wrong. Well, okay, what have I spoken that's wrong linguistically? What words?
I'm saying. So if you don't have if you don't have a reference from where something is coming from, if you're using the word today in in this present day, if you're using the word in this present day, you could corrupt the actual root of that word. Just like that's like origination, like the etymology of words is the actual word, but the word what is being spoken today is the watered down or it's not correct because it doesn't have the same.
So if
root
somebody
word.
didn't know that the Latin word for white was albino, or was it albino or albus or whatever it may have been, if somebody didn't know that but still used the word albino by its correct definition today, what have they done wrong?
No, so repeat that. No, it's because.
So if a person uses the word albino today,
Yeah.
and uses it by its correct modern standard, right, a pigmentation issue, if they use that word correctly now without knowing that in Latin it means white, what have they fundamentally done wrong?
They miss what it actually means.
No, but they used it correctly because nowadays they've got the definition right and they live nowadays. They don't live in Latin England years ago. They live now. So if they use the correct definition now, what have they done wrong?
They changed it because it missed the actual.
They didn't change it.
Meaning.
They're using the language that they were taught. I didn't change the English language. I use it how it was taught to me.
I'm saying the true meaning. So it's not. It's watered down. It's just like
It's not
again,
watered down. It's
I
expanded.
had a question. No, it's watered down. It can't be expanded. It's watered down.
But it has been expanded. Albino is an example right there. Albino now means a pigmentation issue, which we didn't know back then. We didn't know that pigmentation issues existed back then, so we didn't have a word for it. But now we do. We've changed language to accommodate and expand upon issues that we have in contemporary society.
But the language is changed to confuse the actual present meaning, because if the language did not change,
No one's confused.
it would cause, because you just said albino. If someone don't know what it means, then it's not going to use it as what is presently really meant to use for.
I never said that. No, I said
but that's
if
the same.
if a person uses a word correctly by today's standards, why is that an issue if it meant something else 400 years ago?
No, but how could it be correct by today's standards? It's wrong. You can't. There ain't.
How can it be correct by today's standards? Okay, so if a child is born in 2010 and they're raised up until now, they're 14 years old, and they've been taught that the word albino means a pigmentation issue, and when they're asked about what albino means, they say it's a pigmentation issue. Why are they wrong? Have they used that word wrong, or have they used it right?
Because there's more based on what they have been taught. Yes, obviously, but if they ask the person what else, because obviously it's not just that what it means. There's more to it. So the person will always come and say, okay, it also means this, because you're not giving the true meaning of it, like meaning the a whole, like it's not clear.
Perhaps this is a better question. In today's society, what does albino, just use albino as an example because it keeps getting mentioned, what does that have more meaning of, right? If you were to ask what does albino mean, what is the most accurate definition you can give? Would it be its Latin definition, or would it be how it's used today?
Obviously today, because
okay,
it has been
well, there's
changed.
my point. So how does the Latin language of 400 years ago, what bearing does that have, if any? And if there is a bearing, what is the negative impact of that?
No, because
today?
like I say, it's being used because it was being used to identify as it was being used to identify. So if you say that person is white, you could say that they also refer to him as being albino. But now
you can't, though, because you've just agreed with me that the word albino now means something different. So you can't refer to any white people as albino.
That's what I'm saying. So if the knowledge is taken out of it, that means it's not right. Because
it's not taken out, it's changed. The knowledge has simply changed. The knowledge hasn't been taken out.
How will knowledge be changed?
How can knowledge be changed? I've just given you the example. Albino, 400 years ago, you said it meant white. Nowadays, we've both just agreed that the definition has changed to accommodate for newer issues. Therefore, knowledge has changed.
But that doesn't mean it's right.
It does. Okay, so what's right? If I asked you, if you want a pub quiz today, and they said, "What does albino mean?" Would you say white, or would you say pigmentation issue?
And so that would be based on today's society, and that means
which is what your question is. You said,
and that's why today's society is not right, because of what it previously was meant for. That's the whole point. So now, like I'm saying, by changing something that was previously meant for a particular thing and now it's meant for something else, it's not right. Like it's a
why isn't that okay? So you're saying it's not right to change the definitions of words. What direct negative issue stems from changing the definition of a word?
Just like again, albino. You keep on that, because albino also means black and it also means white. Yeah.
No, albino doesn't mean black. It may have meant black at one point in time. It doesn't mean black now.
Yeah, meant black. Yeah, but you could use it to identify. Yeah,
you could use
albino
in the past. Yeah, but now you can't. I was paused. Okay. How long is this going to be paused for? Damn.
I think that might close. My battery is low. But like I say, this is the issue that we're having, my people. Let's have it, my people, because when you're in a position to change things based on the climate that was given for the factor of protection, and now that benefit is used.
But what is that benefit? I mean, we got away from that example of you saying that you can't.
The benefit is to be able to like we're reasoning, to be able to change something and remove the meaning. That's a benefit, to be able to change.
We're not removing the meaning.
Of course, it's you to benefit you. So, like I say, why don't you identify as albino then?
Because that's not what that word means.
Which you are albino. It's not.
No, I'm albino by the standards of 400 years ago. I do not exist 400 years ago.
400 before that, because albino was before 400 years.
Okay, before that even. However far back that way, I am only judged by the standards of words that exist within my time.
So presently, based on that word that was created, for a protection, is now used as an identity. So it's like now
it's not an identity; it's a description.
Of course, it's an identity. What's an identity?
It's not an identity.
Then what? Then when you sign up, when you say tick like race, and you say tick color, what are you identifying as?
If it asks me what my race is and my options are to choose from a color, then I will choose white. But if I'm asked on an open basis, what do I identify as? I am white English. White being a descriptive, English being my nationality. The same way that when I asked you, you said brown. Were people always known as brown?
More, because there is in the humanity, there's very dark to very pale. There is no white.
So why did you say brown? Why didn't you refer to yourself as very dark? Doesn't that water down the meaning?
No, because if you actually look at the structure from dark to pale, again, that is it's involved in the actual. You could see it in nature. It's not. It's
okay. You said that albino means black, right, and white, and then you asked me why I didn't identify as albino instead of white.
Yeah.
If it means both, why didn't you identify as albino? You said brown. You could have identified as that too. You're living by the same standards and definitions of words as I am, but I'm wrong for doing it.
No, I didn't say you're wrong. I'm saying
You did.
I am because in humanity I'm saying it's very dark to very pale. Yeah. So I'm not very pale. So I'm not albino.
Right. But my question was, when I asked you what you identify as, you said brown. So when I answered and I said white, you said, well, you're reducing yourself down to a color. When I asked you, you said brown, yet you said that you weren't reducing yourself down to a color. Why is that?
That could be better adjusted. I could say no, for real. Yeah, I agree with you. Like I'm not ignorant. Yeah, I agree. Then I would then change the terminology, and I would say then I'm more of the earth. I'm more of the ground. I would say that.
You're more of the ground.
Yeah.
But your point was that definitions have been watered down and that we should be using the original language, like Latin, right? Which is why you asked why I didn't refer to myself as albino. But when have people referred to as ground?
I would say more. I'm Moorish. I could say that. I'm a Moor. I could say that.
I'm not saying you have to. My point is that you can say whatever. It really doesn't affect me too much. My actual overarching point over all of this is that it really shouldn't matter either way.
Exactly. That's my old point as well. That's why I'm here.
Well, I don't think it is, because you're talking about identity. Nope. I mean, your question itself on screen, don't know the truth about where the identity of white originated from. I don't think it matters.
Because it comes from somewhere. How could you not? Everything matters. That's why we're living. If nothing doesn't matter, then some things wouldn't.
No, I didn't say nothing doesn't matter. But I said this topic doesn't matter.
But it does. That's why it exists.
But you haven't given me a negative impact of it. No. How can it matter if there's no negative impacts, contemporarily speaking?
What you mean no negative to you? That's the privilege that you have because you could
The
actually.
privilege is that I don't exhibit negative impacts.
No, I'm saying you say it doesn't have a negative impact, and that's I'm
I don't
saying
think
that's
it
a
does, no.
privilege for you because
So the privilege for
majority
me
of the
is that it
world,
doesn't have a negative impact.
I'm saying majority of the world know that it has a negative impact, and this is the psychological
Okay, well, could you
problem
tell
that
me
we're
what that
having.
impact is? If a majority of the world knows, presumably you're
So you
included
don't
in
know
that.
about slavery, no? You don't know about slavery. You don't know about
Is that impacting you? Are you currently involved in slavery?
the hostility. Do you know about the hostility that happens? Do you know about taking away
I know
about
about the historical impacts of
about the blood
of.
rights, about the nationality? Don't you know about all these things?
I know
Because
about the
no,
historical impacts of these things, but I'm talking contemporarily.
I'll give you an example. Contemporary is that's a negative thing. So I'll give you contemporary and history. The
Just a
first
contemporary example. Just
no,
how
no,
does that affect you contemporarily?
it's a quick thing. The first settlers in England are the pharaohs. Now you can argue saying the first settlers was white. How is that possible? So, like I say, that's a negative. That's something negative because it's impossible for the first people to be on the island was white when the reason for England being imperial Britain, imperial China, imperial means pharaoh. The word imperial, that's what it means,
Okay.
pharaoh.
So that's
So,
a negative impact to them at that time.
because you know at this time because there are still children of those people that existed at that time presently now, and their identity has been taken by those that identify themselves as white. So again, if I can trace my lineage, but based on the system that is presently available, again, and all of the things that's been hidden, and I could present it, but yet because again there is a structure that those that identify themselves as white do not want to prevent or provide. Just like even to this modern day, how could there are people that you go to the museum, you go to the museums,
Okay.
yeah, you can see all of the pharaohs and that, but again, they come from a bloodline that's like I say myself and yours, but you wouldn't class yourself as knowing how far you come from because
Okay. You've mentioned a few times, and you even asked. You actually phrase it in this sense when you asked me the question. You said, "How do you identify?" And you talk about people identifying as white.
Yeah.
But when you talk about history, you refer to them as white. How would you know that they identified as white? How would you know that they were white?
I identify them as white.
You identify them as white, and how do you know to do that?
Who do I identify as white?
How do you know to identify them as white?
No, who do I identify as white?
You just said there were children living in that example that you just gave of the contemporary effects to certain people of skin color. You said that when white people moved there.
No, I'm saying those. That's why we have to keep. Because remember, those like now, like I say, I said how, if the people that were in Ireland, the first people that inhabited Ireland, because remember, it's things that are being presented now, not in the past, that again based on the identity that they're using, they're saying these people was there first. So they're using the present identity to express an history that it wasn't used to say, okay, that person is white. So they're using the present day.
Right. When I asked you to give a contemporary example, what example did you give?
The changing of language, of history.
No, you gave a specific area. You said people moving to this island. What was the example you gave when I said to give a contemporary example of the negative impacts? You noted a certain area.
Just like nationality, immigration.
Okay. Well, no, the example you've already given.
There was that is one of the biggest thing. We can't be going past of all of the. So how much more do you want? Because the one should be enough. Two should be enough.
So just repeat that one so I can keep us on topic. So I feel like
it could be
there's so many
nationality is
going
one.
here.
Nationality is one.
when I just give a specific example, you gave an example of how certain people of skin tone are affected by other white people who were there in that country. Could you give that example again, just so we can stay on topic?
Yeah. So for instance, you have
Yeah.
those that identify themselves as white English.
Where?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
As-
where?
as-
You gave a
as-
specific country. Which country was it?
I said English, England, obviously. English, England. Those that identify themselves as just like yourself, for instance. Yeah, I give you that. Yeah, there are black English. Yeah, that again.
Do you mean people who identify themselves as Black English or Black English?
Yeah, people that identify themselves as black English. Yeah, because like I say, because the word, the identification of those that are white is more predominantly used, or it's used more, or it has been used the most. It then now have a privilege over those that identify themselves as black English.
Okay.
How does that make sense? When
We're keeping it. We'll keep it to England then. You said English nationality. What is the direct effect that being white has?
Haven't you been outside? Immigration. Haven't you see what's happening to the women's generation?
Well, you said the word immigration, but that doesn't actually answer the question. I'm saying, what is the direct effect?
There's people dying, just to be identified as being British, English. Do you know about
Who is? Well, no, but I didn't ask about. You said the question is white. I'm not asking about British or English.
So based on again, those that identify themselves as white, yeah, that is controlling England, they're now again creating negative impact on those that are.
What is that impact?
I just told you restriction of being from themselves identifying as English. They're dying. Don't you get it? It's
Restricting.
reality.
So restricting having people identify as English upon leaving from it. Would you not think it's more of a restriction to tell people that they're English upon moving to England, stripping them of their former nationality?
Would you not tell the people that they're English? Remember, I'm trying to say, those that identify as white is leading humanity. So they're the one that's providing the information, the control,
You also say identify as white. What do you mean by identify as white?
You identify yourself as white, don't you?
I identify as white because I am. I wouldn't say to someone I identify as white. I say I am white.
It never existed before the 1600s. So
before the 1600s, we exist after the 1600s. This conversation is taking place in 2024.
Yeah, so the word for you to say you're white, it only been in existence for 400 years. That's what I'm trying to say.
So is it in existence, yes or no? Is that word in existence now? As we're speaking, yes or no?
Yes, so that's
it is. So how is it wrong?
That's where it's coming from. So if you know about the origin, so the issue that we're having now, based on the origin of 400 years, and those that identify themselves as white from that time till now, which is leading humanity, as leading humanity negative.
Does it make sense for me to say I identify as human? What makes more sense, saying I am human or I identify as human?
You could identify as human. Or what makes
more
sense?
You think that makes more? You think that's more sensible than saying I am human?
Because again, live world is complex, but
no, I'm just asking about this specific question, just without going off on any tangents. If I asked you, "Are you human?" would you say that you're human?
Yeah, I could say.
Okay, well, why is that? Is there identifying characteristics that make you that?
Yeah.
Okay, like what? Arms, legs, fingers, toes, biology, flesh. Okay, yes. So when someone says that they are white, and they say I am white because that is the color that I am, why is that less acceptable to say white is a color? Why is that less acceptable to say?
No, I'm not saying
that you have to identify as that thing.
I'm trying to say it's see the fact that again you can now based on your privilege, you could change it you could say whatever it is. But I'm saying it was not in existence. I stick with the point. It was not in existence
Right.
400 years ago. So now,
No, I
because
agree.
it's in
Okay.
existence and you're able to use it because it has been specifically given to you as that privilege first was for protection, but you're using it now as an actual identification, which gives
No,
you
as a
more
description.
privilege.
As a description. It's not an
Yeah.
identification.
You're identifying as it,
It's a
No,
description.
I get what you're saying because I
Well,
get what
you
you're
don't,
saying.
because you're not agreeing with it.
No, I just said I get what you're saying. So
Yeah, I'm not identifying as it. I am it. There's a difference.
You said you
It's a
are.
description. It's a description, yeah.
You said you are.
Yeah,
so
because
you
that is what I
describe
am. I
yourself.
am descriptively this thing. I am descriptively the same way that if you were to ask how tall I am, I'd say, well, I'm 5'10". That is what I am. It's my description, right? It's a description of me. It's not my core being. It's not my essence. It's a description.
So it has been, again, it has been reduced because now you could describe, you could say I am, and when you use that said I am,
Yes.
you only have 400 years in that use, and I'm not saying that 400 years is not is wrong.
No.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's wrong, but that is not being sincerely, and that's not being truthful because you don't know. You don't know.
You say that it's a reduction. A reduction. You say that description is a reduction, right? To say that you're a color or not. What is it a reduction from? What should we be identifying as? How should we phrase it?
Oh well, I don't think the color should be in.
Okay, so what should we?
Well, you should be who you are. Say, like, for instance, I said, who are you? Then you will say, I am. What's your last name? Could be Webson. I'm Web.
So we should identify by our surnames.
Yes, of course. But that was there before color comes in.
Okay, there were things there before. There were before surnames came in, though, right?
No.
There weren't?
No, because yeah, there was. I'll be honest.
So why don't we describe as them? If your contention is that we shouldn't be describing as these words because they're too new, because they've only been around for so long, meaning that their definitions haven't got enough meaning behind them for us to identify as. Well, why don't we identify all as the very, very first thing? What would that thing be in your eyes?
No, but you're right. You're right. So this is where again the fact that humanity has been weakened. So we need to get more knowledge, more stronger on terms of our origin. That's why we're having this issue, because this is an actual device to reduce us from knowing. Like that's a good point. To say.
Okay, so but just to answer that question, what should we identify as? Because you said that it's a reduction.
No, but it would definitely
to say white. But what is it a reduction from?
What we should,
in your eyes, what should be the standard?
We should be able to just understand that we're human. Yeah.
Okay, so human. So we should all identify just simply as, that's your contention, that we should all simply identify as human.
But we only when we want to be stronger, we do identify as human. But if we don't want to be stronger, we then label ourselves. That's the issue.
Okay, so your contention is that we should identify as human, which would strengthen us if we all got rid of any form of label and just simply said human.
Of course.
Okay. How does that fit into your idea of there existing a privilege then? Do you not think that if that privilege exists, then you need to note it somehow?
No, because it does.
We're all human, then a privilege doesn't exist, right?
No, because it does exist, because it provides equality.
Who does it exist for?
Every human being. It's real.
So the privilege exists for every human being. So it's not a privilege then?
Of course it's a privilege. You're a human being.
It can't be a privilege if it applies to every single person. You said earlier on that me and you traveling to Barbados, you would have a harder time.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it because the privilege applies to me and not you?
Yes.
So a privilege applies to me but not you, yet we're both identifying as human. Do you not think that maybe there should be an extra identification process
so that's what I'm saying. So if so that then if me and you is going somewhere, then that now reduce. So it's not a positive, it's a negative. So now you're on your own. Like, do you get it? That is not a development. That is a reduction. You get so it's more to be positive. So stronger is coming together, positive. So that's where we should be going. We shouldn't be going.
Do you not think that by definition, because you just said you would rather have us all identify, if we want to become stronger, we should just be human. No colour, no nationality, just human. That should be the strongest identifier if we want to. Okay. Do you not think that is by definition the most reductionist way possible of describing people, simply by their species?
No, because it's implemented in law, in history, in physics. Everything that you're made up of, that's the main foundation of who you are. So how could it be reduced? It's the strength, it's the ground. That's your psychology. So
well, that's the definition of reduction, to reduce it down to its simplest terms. And a simplest term to describe any one human on this planet would be to describe them simply as a human, which is their species. That is by definition reductionist. To actually say, instead of saying human, to actually say white British or black Jamaican, that's actually the opposite of reduction. That's an addition.
No, it's see how it's a real effect. It's an effect. Because again, it's the substance that is with it. So to say now you're white, because now you have ignored the fact that by being human again isn't enough. Like there isn't there isn't enough.
I think, just to clarify my point, I think that when you mention that saying white is reducing yourself down to a colour, I think that your idea of just saying human is the most reductionist way of describing someone possible. I think human is the most reductionist term.
I understand what you think, but again, if you use all the references, it's not like I'm trying not to have a subjective point, but a objective point. So what you think, it's a reduction.
Well, mine wasn't Mine wasn't a think. Mine was I based my claim off of the definition of the term reduction, and by definition, reducing it down to human would be a reduction.
No, and that is based on the said people that identify themselves as white, providing that example. That example did not come from, again, to say so because they identify themselves as human, it's a reduction. How could it be when to be human is to be majority everything?
How could it be? Well, I can explain how it could be. Because the definition of the word reduction means to reduce down to its simplest forms. And its simplest form for any person on this planet, regardless of colour or creed or religion, is human.
But I'm saying this is the issue when those that are leading humanity,
who?
Those that identify themselves as white, because they are leading.
They lead humanity.
Yeah, I think. Sometimes
I think we can find common ground here, because I think what you mean is that the rich and elite members who are leading society have a high propensity to be white. I don't think you mean white as a general rule, because I'm white and I don't lead humanity. I think what you mean is that the elite tend to be white. Because there's still a big gap between me as a white person and the elite who run the world as white people.
I'm saying they're not the richest, because again, it's those that are leading. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be strong to be leading.
But who is leading? Just any white?
No. Remember, it's a social structure. Like if you keep moving from origin, it's gonna be confused. Remember.
So we can agree. So there's a social structure. Yeah. What parts of that structure are we referring to? So you mentioned white. There's one part. So ethnicity is a part of that structure. What else is a part of that structure, though? Could you say socioeconomic status? Could you say that, whether you're rich or poor? Would that be a part of that structure?
Definitely.
Okay, could you say
No, but
where you're,
not
but
to,
what country you're from? Whether you're from a third world country or first world country, would that be part of that structure?
it has been added. It has
Okay,
been
so it's not just white then, is it? Because your question on screen for everyone to see
no
is about
exactly.
white, but it's not white. It's not a white issue. It's many different factors that you're
No,
actually that's reductionist
but
again by definition. To
but
simply just say white.
the reason for my point is because, again, as you could say, what the originate, like what the identifying of white originate from is not the complex, like the more complexity around it, the more details, but the actual point that I'm making is an actual point. And this and regardless of what you say and I say, you could actually you could go and see the reference of what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
What reference would that be?
So like I say, the word white was invented
Okay.
400 years ago.
400 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, by Thomas Middleton.
Yeah.
Like, this is not
That we went over that. That has no bearing
it does, that's what I'm saying.
on today's society.
Of course, because the word was not used again to cause the negative effect that it has been causing on today's society. It was used as a protection for those
Okay.
that did. But so today, I don't know. Like I say, if you and you did say already, you said you don't see the negative. So I understand that.
No, I didn't say I don't see a negative.
What did
I
you say
said
then?
I don't believe there's a negative. Not seeing it means that I think it exists, but I don't know it's there. I can't see it. I'm asking you what
So
the
you don't
negative is.
believe. That means
I don't
you
believe
don't
there's a
know.
negative. No.
That means you ignore it then, because to don't
No,
believe
ignoring and not
no.
believing are different things. If I don't believe in God, it means I don't believe he exists. If I ignore God, it means I know he's there, but I'm choosing not to make note of him. There's a difference between them words.
So you say
I
you
don't
don't
believe.
know. So you say don't know that there's negative.
No, it's not about not knowing. It's about
But
I
that's what
don't believe
belief
there is
is.
anything to know.
But that's what belief is, not to know. You look up the word.
No, belief isn't to not know. Belief is to not know means that it exists, but I just don't know of it. That would be ignorance, right? But I don't believe it exists to have knowledge of. You're saying there's a negative. I'm asking you what that negative is, and I haven't got an answer.
I can't then now understand. I get fair enough. Based on your on your perspective on how you see life, you don't believe that there's no negative, and
I don't believe there's a negative that comes to being a certain skin color that stems from the definition of a word 400 years ago. No.
no, and again that is, and obviously that is fair enough. That's fair enough. You don't believe it, so that doesn't mean that sometimes if you don't believe, doesn't mean it's not true. That's the whole point. And
That's true, and that's why I'm asking you. So I don't believe it.
yeah.
You do. So I'm asking you to prove it to
No,
me.
it's not belief. Or I know. Like I said, belief is not someone that don't know. So you don't know, and I said I know based on.
Yeah. So if you know, then tell me.
Yeah, I already explained. I get it's a bit hard to absorb based on.
You didn't explain the negative impacts on contemporary society. You kept referencing back to a 400-year-old Latin definition. You haven't actually explained today how I benefit.
I didn't say about him. So I didn't say that again. You could be.
You said the word immigration, and then you made an example of me and you traveling to Barbados. You would have a harder time, but you didn't say why that was.
I did say. I did say. You could be, for instance, stereotyped. You could, of course. There's a lot of You could be stereotyped. That's definitely one. But if you're saying that, I agree. If we don't believe that there is no privilege, yeah, in being, then that is you. That is your. That's as far as you know. That's your knowledge. That's as far as you know. And I would just say that again. There is more to know about it, because if we never knew that was a thing in the first place, that means, and it does exist, and that's the reason why you have that label, or you identify as, then it is a big thing. It's something that is a part of your being. So for you to be presently saying I identify as this, and that's where it's coming from, and it is an issue not knowing that, because again, it's coming from somewhere which was provided for
But
a
why is that an issue? That doesn't impact me. If I didn't know that, history, that 400 years ago, there was a Latin word that was used.
in
Why?
psychology.
How would that affect me now? Because we've already been over the fact
No,
that,
check.
and we've already proved the fact that
No, I get
Latin
it.
definitions of words don't hold up in contemporary society. So why would that affect me now?
In psychology, it's something called social development, which is history. So it's a part of your history that you now identifying as that. And if you're deprived of that that social development, that again that creates a defect. That means psychologically you're not developed in that area, and you need to be to actually function, because psychology is the behavior of
Okay.
human beings.
Well,
based on the
I think it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit hypocritical at that point. No, that psychologically, I'm not developed in that area of knowing my history. Yet I still somehow have access to a privilege from that. How can I have access to a privilege from that if I don't know of the history?
Just like those are no, but it because just by being in that society, you have the privilege because you're in the society.
So because I'm in a white society, I have a privilege by proxy.
I would that is what called social development. That's what social development is.
So existing in a white society gives people privilege just by existing there.
Because they could change what's in their society, of course.
So anyone that lives in a white society has that privilege.
To change, of course, if you live in your household.
And England is a white society.
No, because if you live in your household, you have the privilege by being in a household, which you could change the things that's going on in your household to then impact positively on when you go out into other society. It's a development.
Maybe this will clear up the point. I saw someone in chat say something that maybe could lead to a better talking point. I, as a white person, so you think I have a privilege. Let's just agree that I have this privilege, whatever it may be, and that I have the privilege to control and change society in whatever way. If I move to Nigeria now, dominant black society, right?
Yeah.
Do I have a privilege to change their society because I'm still white? So does my privilege carry over?
Because those that identify as white is lead in humanity.
Okay, but no, I'm asking about me specifically as a white person. If I was to move to Nigeria, does my privilege carry with me into a black society? Do I have the ability to change their society?
You do, because those that are leading humanity, again, if you're leading something,
I'm not asking about those. I'm asking about me.
But yourself.
Okay, yeah. So myself, if I were to move to,
then that is your determination. So I can't determine what your strengths are. If you're strong, then you're strong. If you're weak, then you're weak.
But couldn't you say that about anyone? Couldn't you say that about a black person in a white society?
Could I say that about a black person in a white society?
About their determination?
I can't say that. I could say about my determination.
Okay, so how can you say about my privilege? Because,
but wait, don't confuse it. Go back again. We could look.
All right, so I asked if I were to move to a black society, basically in layman's terms, instead of naming countries, if I was a white person in a white society where you say I have power and privilege to change things, if I move to a black society, does that power carry?
Based on you.
Based on me as a person and my qualities, or based on me as a white?
So white quality or add it helps, because again, those that are leading humanity again, when you lead in something, that means you have the privilege to change something, because you are the one.
What am I leading?
So just like, no, I mean as a member, as an identity, because like I say, then
as a member, as an identity.
Yeah.
But you're saying that for me. I'm not saying I identify as what I am white. I'm not using it as an identity. I don't conform with. If you get a rich white family, I don't identify with those people. I don't identify with the people who run the world. You're saying I do. I don't. They're far away from me.
No, all right. So because again, that system is very strong. I'm saying it's a very deceptive thing because.
But if I don't identify with these people that run the world,
But
then
you're
how
smart,
can
but
I?
you're more intelligent. That's what I'm saying. You. So you're saying that. Whoa! But you're saying that you are. It's.
Yes. So you said that my power,
Okay, so
that this privilege carries over because the people who run the world are also white. But I don't identify with those people. So how do I get their privilege?
how would you get their privilege? The society that look. Remember, we're using a umbrella. Yeah. If based on to control human or other society, those what is leading that from the idea, or they say that those that identify, those that, I'm not saying you, so like let's clear up. So you're saying those that identify themselves as white,
Yeah.
that is leading humanity.
But I'm white, and I don't identify with the people who lead humanity who happen to also be white.
I understand. But I'm saying, look, as it's because that system, like I say, it's a system. So if you have a game, yeah. So like I said, you have a not even a game. So you have an armor, yeah. That armor protects you, yeah. The armor protects you. It protects you, and you could use it also to change or destroy, yeah, based
Okay.
on the armor that you have. If it's the armor now that it's a big armor, it's not a small one. So if you're not using the armor, then those that are
Right.
using it again, and those that has been leading, not necessarily you, yeah.
Right, but that's
So it's
what I
not.
meant because you phrased it as people who identify as white, and I
Yeah.
am white, so I'm part of that group, but I don't have this armor. I think what, listening to your talking points, I don't think that it lies with the identity of being white. I think your points fit in with a socioeconomic factor, not with an ethnic factor. I think the things you're noting about the people who run the world and run humanity and the people who have the access to this armor, I think you're referencing socio-economic standards, not
Because
ethnic standards.
no, of course not. Because like I say, it was created. It's the creation. So you saying you are white. So you're not.
I am.
You're saying you don't start at 1600. So you say you got before that because you are. So
No, I don't go before that. I start at 2003. That's
yeah,
my
2000
lineage.
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
saying you are, but you're within. You're actually within that creation, that's construct, that 400-year construct. You're within it.
No,
You are.
I'm not. No, I'm not within that. I'm using it as a descriptive term. I'm not that literal description.
No,
If you get the description of the color
no.
white,
I'm saying
that's
for
not
you.
me.
You are smart enough, though. I'm saying you are more strong enough to be able to not use it as a identity, but to say now, okay, it's who I am. If it makes any difference, but because it exists before you say it's because what I am, it exists before that you're what you say, yeah. So regardless of what you say, it still it exists for this purpose. So I get what you're saying because obviously you're an individual that if you don't know about how it came about in the first place, but you're saying I am this, but it still doesn't take away from how it came into existence or what it meant for. And if you don't know this, you could still say I am because that's what you.
The difference is that when I use that word, I'm using it within my existence by its definition. Now you're using a 400-year-old definition.
Because of it, like I say, That's what my statements say. Obviously, because I'm making my point. It's not
Okay,
my point.
if you see the most recent comment in chat now, I think that's what you're referencing. I don't think you're referencing a colour issue. I think with that comment from Gulix9645,
No, I'm not
he says
referring.
we're under the same system, white, black, brown, those in charge don't care. I think you two are agreeing here,
No,
those in charge. I think you're referencing socioeconomic standards.
Yeah, I wasn't representing the color. I don't think that.
Well, no,
That's
but
my whole
you
point.
mentioned white and the privilege that comes along with being white. I think the privilege you're talking about isn't
Yeah, I'm
white,
not talking
but
about.
simply being socioeconomically high up in society. I don't think it's to do with white. I think
No, I'm
that
not.
comment is your viewpoint.
I'm not talking as you as a, like I say, human being. It's a construct. That's my whole point. It's because why would I say the originated? Why it originated? Because I know that you have mother and father going back, grandmother, father, keep going back. I know that it goes back.
No, but do you
See what I'm
see the
trying to say? I
comment
know
in
that you
chat?
as a human goes back before that word. This I'm trying to say before
Right.
that word to say for you to say I am that word, you go back before that. It keeps going.
No,
Even when that word
I
does not
don't, because
exist,
I'm
it
not
keeps going.
using the way I'm using it isn't the historical value. But if you look in into the chat now, where it says we're under the same system, white, black, brown, those in charge don't care. Do you agree with that?
I
Because I
agree, of
think that's
course.
what you're referencing. You
No,
agree with that?
of course
So
I
it's
agree.
not a. So how can you agree with that while simultaneously believing
No,
that
because
part of them, that the white people in that system have an advantage?
no, because we have to start from somewhere. It's like
So
where we
why
go.
start from white? Why not start from what we can agree on? Because we all agree, me and you and the guy who put that in chat agree that we're under the same system.
No,
So
but
why not start at that system instead of the ethnicity?
no, because the it's that's where it started from. The system that has been like it's confusing, like I said, and it's weird. I could tell it's super confusing, but that's what I'm saying. It started from there because it was just
Okay.
it's weird.
Okay.
It
So
started. There's no other point. To
I think we found more common ground. The system, just to be clear, what system are you referring to? Because I think we might be referring to the same. We can agree on a similar system here. This might be a good. What system are you referring to that this overarching system?
Yeah, no, definitely those that make humanity weak. That the system that makes humanity weak. Just like
Who would those be though? Like who are these people specifically? Like are you talking about elites?
what it could be. It could not be elites. It could be whoever make humanity weak. They are part of that. The
But
issue.
who are these people? Because you're saying whoever, but who? Who specifically?
Definitely those that are leading us.
Okay, so who would they be? Are you talking about like dictators, the governments, the?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Whoever that makes and that's because I'm making it broad, so you don't have to. It's broad where if you know, okay, the teacher that is at school is not teaching me things to make me better. Obviously, that's one of them. Like the next door neighbor that not really motivating you to say, "Bro, listen, get stronger." Right? That's one of them. Like there are in
okay,
it's
with the
real.
example of the teacher that you just mentioned, they're not necessarily teaching you the stuff to make you more intelligent or to make you better. They're being told to teach you that by someone above them. And then the people who are telling them, they're getting told by someone above them and above them and above them. Who is at the top of that chain? Who is passing down that information?
It's anyone. It's I would think that it's just you can't pinpoint, but whoever wants to make humanity weak, that's the person.
Okay.
And
Without, if you
go
say
ahead.
you can't pinpoint, then that's fine. I don't think we can pinpoint either.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we can maybe give general assumptions of like a governmental body. But do you think that the person at the top of that chain are all represented or best represented by an ethnicity? Do you think that's the best way to define them?
That's what I was saying. They're using the system that was provided for a negative to weaken.
Okay, but
You know what I'm saying?
but just at the top of that chain, the people providing this information, the people passing it down from the very top of this system, do you think that they all operate under the same? Do you think that they're identifying as an ethnicity? as a color?
No, I don't think they do. No,
Okay, so
because they know what that
when
is.
you said that the
Exactly.
people who run the world who identify as whites,
Yeah.
but you've just said that you don't think that they're identifying as a color. So which is it? Are they the ones identifying as whites, or are they the people who, whoever they may
No.
be, who are at the top of the system?
Remember, I said it shows that because it was used because it's still being used. It
By
might
the
say
by the people at the top of the system.
yes. So
Okay, so the people at the top of a system are identifying as white.
of course.
That's your belief that the people at the top
No,
of the
because
system that control all of the.
no, because it's being used. It's not like
Okay.
what
Well,
I'm thinking. It's it's going on. If you look
okay. Well,
out,
I
if you
use
look
that too.
majority at people, it's not really fair, is it? It's not balanced, is it? Like how the person before me says in
Okay.
Abscu, the fact that if we're living in a multicultural society, it should be
Okay. So
fully
you're saying that the
distributed.
people at the top of it. So we've actually reached a conclusive sort of point here. So now we have your beliefs in a more sort of palatable format. Is that the people at the top of the system that are oppressing are the people identifying as white? Okay. Just off that point, what about the people who identify as white below that system? Like for me, for example, I'm white, but I'm not at the top of that system. How do you account for those people?
Yeah, because because you're within that system, you're more you're more have the ability to change it because the structure is shared. But so that's why I was saying it's also based on whether you're strong or weak, and that's what adds up to my that would add up to the point based on what I'm saying. So based on in humanity there are strong and there's weak people. Certain systems are in place to make humanity weak. So if we're weaker,
Okay.
those that might be put and labeled, if they're not strong enough, they won't be able to.
Okay. When we're talking about the people at the top of this system that
Yeah.
you say identify as white, do you think that the color is the only thing that they may have in common at the top? Do you think that that's the only quality that they share amongst each other?
No.
Okay, what are the other qualities, do you think? What other factors besides color do you think that they share?
They definitely share things to so
Wealth, perhaps?
no, not necessarily, no.
Okay, what else then besides color?
No, so ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah.
Okay,
Definitely
so
ideas.
what? So ideas.
So
Anything else?
negative ideas. Negative ideas is
Negative
one.
ideas.
Yeah.
Any
So
like
ideas,
specific ones or just?
so ideas to make humanity weak. So that is the
Okay.
main one.
So would you not agree it's maybe more reasonable to say that the people at the top are people who share a set of ideas to make humanity weak, as opposed to saying the people at the top are people identifying as white?
Because they're using that system, which again, it's a system I'm talking about, not the fact that of your color, because yeah. So they're using that system, like I say, because we have to understand where it's coming from. That was in that time was a privilege for those that were not necessarily Christian to
Okay,
get.
Christian. Oh, do you believe that maybe religion is another factor that the people at the top may share then?
Yes, as well.
Okay. So here's my point. I think maybe I can palette my point and my viewpoint towards you a little easier now.
Yeah.
So at the top of this system, because I can agree that there is a system in place clearly where there is people at the top, whether you want to call them elites or whatever it may be. Do you not think it's more sensible to say that these people are at the top because they share qualities other than simply being a certain color?
But yeah, no, of course. But look, I'm saying. So I have the point is, so where you have a point there. So with that point, because I can't write everything on this screen, right? So I use something to attract, so we can start. We have a base, you use like a label or a title to then start a conversation, and it would be based on those that are weak or those that are strong would be able to. You could examine the people the people that have either been affected negatively by that system, or those that are strong, that know more, and again is willing to strengthen the people them that are not necessarily strong enough to know better, because like I say, if you don't have knowledge of who you are, where you come from, again, you're more subjective to do negative things. It's just like, I don't know if if you see societies that, again, they don't have certain intelligence, so their society is very weak and broken down and poor, and that's a mind, and that's a mindset, that's a psychological thing, where if you don't get enough information about your development of this is what makes human perform. So if these things are not in place, you could control human beings. You get it? Whether they identify as
Let's
white, black, or whatever. So if you don't have enough information about who you are, but then based on whoever is giving you, just like people, all right, I'll give you another example of those that took the jab. Based on the lack of information and lack of knowledge they had, they go and injure themselves when they didn't need to. So again, is that what I just mentioned now? There were people that definitely they would die to say that was good for me. Like those that to say, all right, this what?
No, I think we can agree on a couple of points here. So when you say lack of knowledge, I think so. When you talk about when we mention this system in place, one of the things I would say that the people share, the higher up towards the top you get, I think there's a correlation between the higher up you get and the more knowledge you have. I would say at the top there's knowledge and there's wealth. That's sort of two of the factors I would put forward. And the reason I would do that is because when you look at these systems in place, you can see very clearly that at the top, the people are richer and more knowledgeable. Right. And the reason I can say that as well is because when you look at the bottom, the opposite effect is observed. People become poorer and people become less knowledgeable. Right. So it's a very clear correlation. But when you say white exists at all parts of this system. It exists at the top, it exists at the bottom, it exists in the middle. I don't think that's a very good correlation.
No, it look, that's what I'm saying. There's an origin to. I know what you're saying. I get the how the approach is very strong. I understand it. I did it for a reason, right? Like I say, I'm mixed, but I'm morally on the darker side. So again, I see that okay, there is. When it comes to humanity, all of this is rubbish. Like, what's going on? Like, things are not looking good. So, to strengthen it, I have to come very, very strong. And again, I know that not everyone, based on, so I could then again analyze everyone, and those that are strong, because like I say, there's many people pass through my room, and majority and most of those that stay because they're strong enough to have a conversation. Yeah, it doesn't. They understand at the end of the day where I'm coming from. Like some, but this is where you could then have a clear point of who is strong and who is weak. Because like I say, in today's society, there's a lot.
How are you determining strength? You say people are strong and people are weak. How are you determining their strength?
So on Earth there's something called like ground rule. So like you have football ground, basketball ground, yeah. So in that, those that are strong in tactical, strong in physicality, strong in mentality, they win. Those that are not, they always lose. So
mentality,
that is the basic thing.
Mentality, physicality, mindset.
Understand, all of that. Body,
mind,
soul, strength.
But notice how when you were talking about the strength of someone and how the strength can influence them to make a change, you didn't mention color. You mentioned strength, mentality. So is color really a factor?
Because it was, like I say, because it was brought into the factor. It was brought in as a factor. It wasn't.
Okay, to what degree? So when you mention strength, the stronger someone is, the more then the more they can make a change. To what degree would a color make a change?
because so exactly. All right. So remember, so all of that I mentioned to win, to say okay, the person that is strong enough is the one that win. Those that are not strong enough is those that lose. That's how
Well,
that is the performance on earth. It's you will see it. It's a day-to-day thing. You know what I mean?
but you say enough, like you say strong enough. So when you say strong enough, that implies you can measure it, right? And if we just take strength at face value, that's an easy one to measure, right?
Yes,
Because you can measure someone's strength,
exactly.
right? You can measure the degree to which that influences someone. You can
Yes,
get them in how much can they lift,
yes,
how can they move. If you're talking about basketball or sports, well, how is their
exactly.
performance? You can measure that.
Yes.
How do you measure color? What degree can you measure that to?
Yeah. Look, so it will then be, it will be based on how much they know. You know, because it's not like so. Remember, how much they know about what has because if so for instance if you go in a game, the more you know about the game, the more you're able to win the game.
Agreed. Yeah.
So again, you could see that, and I give an example again. There are there are people, or there are people that born here that um those those that not necessarily identify as white but was put in the actual system, they're not benefiting from nothing. They're not they're the one that are you know mostly in the Midlands. They are going through turmoil because why they they weren't educated based on again where they're from, their history,
Okay.
so they can't go further than
So,
the
so
system
there
that has
does
been
exist
told to them. You get what I'm
there
trying to
does
say?
exist a separate variable then, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you just said yourself that the white people that weren't taught about this privilege and weren't taught about this history aren't experiencing it, aren't living it. So do you agree that there is a separate variable outside of simply being the colour?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
that's why
this
that's
is where we agree.
no, that's why
I'd
I
like to
said develop.
find that variable.
No, you're right. Remember, the old topic is to bring because like I say, um, if remember as a system. So again, you could identify that's who you are, and then you could then there could be a system. So you're not so you would say I'm not a part of I don't value from the system. That's who I am. That system don't value
Okay.
don't give me no privilege, but it's who I am. Yeah. So
Okay.
now the system I'm saying, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Those
So
go on.
if you don't value the privilege within the system, you can't attain from that.
All right, but if you don't if you're not strongly educate if you don't strongly educate yourself about that yeah about that system, if you don't have knowledge like strong wisdom about the system, you know that's where it comes in. So
Then you can't attain the privilege from lack of knowledge. So if a white person were to not be knowledgeable about the system, then they couldn't obtain a privilege from it.
well we see this every day. Yeah,
But would you agree with that though? That if even if it was a white person and they weren't knowledgeable about the system, then they couldn't obtain a privilege from it.
that's a fact, of course.
Okay, so
I'm not
that's where
saying
we agree. So
yeah.
that's what I'm pushing back on is that it's not white privilege. What we've just
No,
described there is an
I'm
educational privilege.
no,
That's not white. That's education.
yeah. So
So it's-
don't take the system away. You keep it there. Keep this. Don't like I said. I understand. Remember, but we're actually in the system, and again, it's true. That's why then I develop the conversation, not just to is to it's to develop. So that's why if I say the origin now, if that origin if you to know that origin, it will then make you
benefit
more
you.
like I say, it will give you
Okay.
that's more knowledgeable. So you'll be more knowledgeable about what it is, where it's from. So
So
at least you
So
can
having an education and having a knowledge of the system and how it works provides you a privilege regardless of your colour.
as well. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an educational privilege then. It's not necessarily white, is it? It's not white or brown or
Remember I'm
black
saying.
or
Remember I'm saying. Like I say, I don't take away the system. Keep it there. Remember, so the so so the so that remember this. So if now, because remember it started. I gave it a place to strengthen the conversation. I gave it a place, a time, a people, yeah, and the thing, and what. So that is a strong point. There ain't no, if you leave from that point of the system, then it's hard to really give a full. It's hard to really comprehend because it's a strong point to then okay, like that's where it starts from. So again, it's more like okay, I need to then know more of that of it because it's now it's given its origin, and then okay, you say okay, I have the origin now. How can I can, because remember, other people don't know. Other people, majority of people don't know this origin, and he would say, why does it matter? For that system, because that system still exists. That's why it matters. Yeah, it still exists. And I say, and because again, those that might be put under that system by duress didn't want that again, and want to change it. And if they don't know how where it come from and how to change it, it's a problem because again, it's if that system is there and it's happening, and it's not like I say, it's causing negative effects on others that what it's not supposed to have caused, and it's there as a root that education can help. The education could strengthen people to make more of a positive decision on the system that has been created instead of leaving those that are leading that system to make a bad light. Like people that like make you look bad. Like you could have a friend, doesn't matter what they are, how they look. They just make you look bad. And they say, listen, no man, fix up. That doesn't make me look good. If you're not strong enough, you will let that person just mess up your whole life, bring you down a negative road.
No, I agree. The only point I disagree with you on, now that we've got to this point of conversation, the only actual point I disagree with you on is that strength as a character. I don't think that the strength of your character comes from your color. I think the things you've mentioned are right. I think the mentality, the strength, the knowledge, especially, I think these things do influence it. And I think that if you want to say that there's a knowledge privilege or there's a strength privilege or any of these things, I can get behind that. But I don't. Literally, the only point I'm pushing back on is that it comes specifically from color.
No. All right. Remember what I said and what it's about. It's about a system, it's the system, not necessarily the human, but the system that was created. Where
Well, yeah, but we went over that this system doesn't necessarily come from color, and the people at the top aren't necessarily all.
I agree. That's the whole point.
So if we agree, then surely, well, if we agree, then that's we can probably conclude that, then, can't we? That it's not a privilege of white; it's a privilege. It's a privilege of knowing the system.
Yeah, but
okay, so we agree.
But remember the title of what it is. It's not all right. And the person that came before you, and it was a great conversation because his last name his surname was White. Did you get it? His surname was White.
Well, I don't. Can you say that after saying that you don't think that White, because his name predates
it? I'm trying to say exactly his surname.
But your understanding is that 400 years ago was when White was it 1613 was when White was made, but his name predates that. So for you to call it White seems hypocritical, right?
No, I'm saying remember that's the whole point, because the system or the word, because it's a title, yeah, because his surname is not who he is as a color, but it's a name that goes as long as it exists. That name it was existence, then he carried it on, but it wasn't like to say, oh, that's him, like as a system. You get it? It's not an actual. It's who he is. It was that is his surname, so that's his actually name. You know what I mean? It's so you identify as that's what you are, and I'm saying that's fair enough. I'm saying there's a system, yeah, that those that are leading, even though you identify and you're probably a great person, but those that are making an example of you, yeah, it's not looking good. You get what I'm trying to say?
But these people that may be making an example, they share qualities with each other that I don't share with them, even though I'm white.
I agree. So
So
I'm
so
saying, go on.
what aren't we agreeing on here? Just
No,
to
we
clarify.
are agree. We are agree. We just
Yeah,
having a strong
exactly. So just to
conversation.
clarify my whole point, I went into this and we debated the white privilege
We're having a
that you
strong
said existed.
conversation, man. But
After deconstructing it, we
appreciate
found
you.
that the system is based upon an educational hierarchy, a
Mhm.
strength mentality hierarchy, and to some degree a socioeconomic hierarchy.
I appreciate you. You're good. You have a strong conversation. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
This is the type of I'm saying people that I look for. Because again, you have you have a strong inclination of wanting to know, and even though again that system is very strong, in terms of like, okay, you're there now, you recognize it, so you're there now, so where again based obviously knowledge to say, okay, I don't want you to be representing me, so I'm gonna be strong enough, or I'm gonna be strong to to correct to correct anything that has been put on me to label me as negative. Where like that's not me. It's like those that keep saying that, okay, you're black. I'm saying, where did you come from with that? I know that word only came out in 1722. So I'm saying, so I could, to me as my privilege, that they call me black, even though I'm mixed, because I just look, it's because I look that way. I could say, oh, but you're not speaking me with you're not
Yeah, no,
speaking
I think I know what you're saying. I think
you get what I'm
what
trying
we're
to say?
getting at here is, instead of reducing, I think okay, I think now we can find common ground on the use of the word reduction. When you say to reduce down to a color, I think what we mean now is, or I think what you mean, is instead of reducing down to a color, maybe look at you for your education, look at you for your
That
knowledge,
is,
your
but
mindset, your strength. There we go.
that's what being human is.
That's
Then that's what I'm
There
trying
we
to
go.
say.
I think that should happen across all races, whether white, black, or brown. That's why I think that this knowledge of a white privilege should be converted into a more constructed idea of
Yes,
education and mentality,
I
and
like you, man.
not
Listen,
just denoting a color.
I love the strength that you're pushing. Look, and look, I'd have a point, but you are very strong, and I like I said, wow, I was like, I want to continue reasoning, because I see that you're not ignorant. There's nothing about you that's weak, and I like I say, and when I see people like that's strong, I say, oh, yo, like just a reminder, yo, because remember, there's a generation coming, and look, we have all this device that do not provide no strength. So that the weaker you are, like I said, the easier you're to be controlled. So the stronger you are, that's what lasts. That's what keeps going. So a strong example keeps people going. Like for instance, look, um, the, those that so those that were in power, for instance, sent all of the strong Englishmen to war, and it weakened the country because it only left the vulnerable. And this is what was taking place, because again, and because education was not provided, it was now, like I say, made a lot of difficulties to even enact certain things that is put there for when times like this is. So like the Magna Carta, I don't know, you might not know, the Magna Carta, for instance, is something that was in place so that again, when people are being being oppressed, they could use it to defend themselves. because again, if there's no one to defend, you get me, your family, then again it's a problem. So someone has to be strong. That's why you had soldiers in the, that's why you have soldiers. So this doesn't, and to change anything that's in society, you have to be strong, and this requires, like I say, a strong development of psychology, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of who you are, and it's really required, and we have to get this. And look, I give you an example. I give you something that is written. It says in Acts, it's like one blood made all nation. Yeah, that's a saying. And some emperor said, this is what emperor said. It says, until the color of a man's skin is no more significant than the color of his eyes, there will be war, continuous war, for instance.
Yep.
Yeah,
Agree.
and if there's no basic human rights, it's not guaranteed to all. There's gonna be war. So and majority, if you see in society, and tell me if I'm wrong, a strong person, a natural strong person that is really strong, you don't see him looking down at a weaker person and to tell him weaker. He would tell you to be stronger. Like if you go to the gym, you're not gonna go and sit beside a person that's lifting up one dumbbell. You know that's not the direction you want to go in. You're gonna go to the person that's lifting up a strong weight, because you know that is where you want to head to.